we're going to put some dirt in your eye. Welcome to Watching Worst Films, your guide to Razzie history. My name is Jericho Reed, with me, Kyle Szymanski.
Hello, hello.
So, we are the podcast that watched every single Razzie Worst Picture winner, and since we finished that quest, we've just been twiddling our thumbs, but hey ho, what's this? It's a new Razzie winner. It's exciting times. So, we are bringing you, fresh off the press, the winner for the year of 2024. It is, of course, Madam Web, and I'm going to try and not put new listeners off by being incredibly depressed.
Yeah. No, exact same. Yeah, let's get into it. Let's just get fucking into it.
Yeah, because this is the thing that might break the podcast for me is we survived My Pillow, we survived Ghost Can't Do It, we survived Transformers, but with this, it's like it's kind of inseparable from the awards itself, and I want to save most of that for the second half. So we'll try and just discuss the movie, but we do need to acknowledge that like there's a tremendous amount of egg on our face is because
Yes.
because we were so confident. We were like, yeah, like
It's
I don't know.
it's that, before with Morbius when I was so confident on Morbius and then
Yeah.
nothing. And I was like, all right, well, okay, that's cool. That's fine. I'm all up for it. And now it's just, yep, egg on the face. And please don't
Yeah.
bring up Bo Derek, because that's happier times that I'd rather not think about.
Should have had Bo Derek as one of the Spider Women. The ghost of John Derek could have been the villain. Yeah, because that's obviously me and you are now Razzie fanatics, Razzie scholars, and maybe we got a little bit too high on ourselves with our Mindhunter abilities. But just the idea, like we were so hard for Morbius, and Morbius lost to Blonde, which is the best film that's ever won a Razzie.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we were like, with Megalopolis, with Joker, with even Reagan, you have so many interesting possibilities. And I think I said on the show as well, like, Craven the Hunter, like, there is a worse version of this movie if you wanna.
It was
if you wanna...
literally going to be my first question to you was, have you seen Craven and is Craven any better? That was all I wanted to ask.
Craven's worse, but
Okay.
we will
Okay, we'll get
cover
into
that as we go on. So I'm a little rusty in that we haven't done this for a year, but to cover our usual things, what was your experience with Madam Web?
Oh, fucking miserable, but not in a.
No, I mean your history,
Oh,
like
my history.
prior to it winning the
Okay,
Razzie.
okay. So yeah, I've said before, I'm a Spider-Man fan as a kid.
Yeah.
Not hardcore, but yeah, enough, more than the average, I would say.
Yeah.
Fucking clue who Madame Web is. I knew who Spider-Woman was. I knew one of them. I was like, oh, that's
How on
Spider-Woman.
earth did you know that?
And she was in one of the early 2000s comics I had. Madame Web
Okay,
might
fair
have
enough.
been in it, and I might have just confused her with Barbara Gordon
Yeah,
or something. Like
yeah,
I
she
might
has.
similar, so,
Every franchise got that woman in the wheelchair who
wheelchair
knows
that's
everything.
exactly
Yeah.
that oversees everything, the Oracle kind of thing. But other than that, when it was announced, I genuinely had not a clue. Less than Morbius or Craven even.
Yeah.
This is beyond bottom of the barrel in my opinion. But what about yourself?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it on our preview show. My first exposure to Madam Web, the character, was through the 90s animated show, which I really liked. And she
Oh,
shows up at the end of that when things get weird with, like, the precursor to Spider-Verse, I guess, when there's all
okay.
these parallel universe Spider-Men. She shows up there. And so I was aware of the character, and as, like, a 6-year-old kid, I was like, wow, I really want to know more about this boring old woman.
Well, that's it. I might have seen her in the animated. I mean, I loved the animated series as a kid, but
Yeah.
20 years of brain melting movies has taken away all my memory. But that's it. Like, there was also so many fucking Spider-Men.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep
Well,
up even when I was a
Well,
kid.
she's the thing that brings them together, Kyle. Her web connects them all. I don't know if you read the tagline, but yeah, they should actually put her in the Spider-Verse movies.
I
Why is she not in
100%,
that, actually? Yeah.
100%. And I've
Dakota
got
Johnson as...
yeah, and I have thoughts and things that we can get into about that sort of
Fuck, I'd
multiverse.
forgotten we had to try and fix the film. Oh, God. I'm not
No,
going to
it's
say
not. It's
anything,
not.
probably.
It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's not about that. It's just what I was thinking. I was like, oh, this surely is a multiverse film. Like, surely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the web that connects us all together. But no,
Yeah.
it doesn't. Not in the slightest.
So my experience with the actual film was I saw it. I
Yeah.
saw it, I believe, opening day even in the cinema, and I I liked it. I was like in just going in blind, I was like, this is perfectly enjoyable. It's like campy and fun, and like it I probably don't like it if it doesn't have Dakota Johnson, but in just having a lead, having your titular character kind of not really buy into the concept of your movie, I think is like,
I don't think I've ever seen a give a shit performance like this in a long time. I've never seen your
yeah,
lead that you're absolutely banking on just not give a fuck.
yeah.
But yeah, I'll get into that. I'll get into that.
Okay, so now getting into before we get into the film, we do have one more thing to cover. Budget. On a
Oh,
budget of
oh,
$80 million, how much do you think this film made?
80 million's less than I expected.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, I'll say it
It's
breaks
half a
even.
Joker.
Yeah, I'll say
Yeah,
it
okay,
breaks
yeah.
even.
Okay, yeah. You're more or less right. 100.5 million.
Yeah, okay.
And again, you know that's not a good sign when they're like,
Hmm.
count the point five. Don't say 100 million. Every
Yeah,
penny counts.
and I'm also gonna, because there was reshoots on this film, so I'm gonna assume the budget might be a little higher than they're admitting to. And
Yeah,
that would make the point even more egregious. You know, this we have made money, it's successful.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was because it came all out when there was fuck all else. But there's also crazy people in the world that went to see it on opening day, so I don't know.
Okay, so necessary grounding for this is, do we contextualize this within the Sony Spider-Man universe?
Please do, because I need it.
So in like I think the 90s, when like Marvel Comics was like in the dustbin, they sold off the rights to all of their best characters. So like Universal bought the Hulk, and like the Fox bought the rights to X-Men, and Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man. And that's how we got our beloved Raimi films. That's how we got the Andrew Garfield Crane film.
Who bought Blade?
Oh, I think he was maybe
I
Fox
feel
as
like he was
well.
Fox, but
Fantastic Four was Fox, X Men were Fox, and Blade was he was either Sony or Fox, I want to say. But and now over time, Marvel have managed to get their claws back. They managed to claw back most of their characters. But that's how the MCU was born. Was they were left with like the characters that were like Iron Man, no
mm-hmm.
thanks, you can keep him. No one's interested in that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Thor, no thank you. And so gradually the MCU has been like clawing characters back, and the one that they have not been able to reclaim is the immensely profitable, like, face of Marvel,
The
essentially,
best one.
Spider-Man. And so we got that deal struck for Civil War, where Tom Holland was allowed to be Spider-Man, and they like reached some agreement where Sony are like, no, we continue to own Spider-Man, but we will let you borrow him.
Mhm.
But basically, Spider-Man can only be in a movie when Sony decides Spider-Man can come out to play. And they're like, and also we own the rights, so we can continue doing our own Spider-Man stuff. And that's how we got like Spider-Verse. And I don't know if like Disney were like, please for the love of God, don't make your own Spider-Man movie at the same time we're making ours. Can you just do something? Please don't ruin. Tom
And
Holland's been making us both a lot of money.
and they did
Um,
because they did the Venom films,
well, exactly. Yeah,
which was win-win for everybody. We get our Spider-Man movie, you get Tom Holland, everyone's happy. Everyone's making money. The good times
exactly.
will
Yeah.
never end.
Yeah, that was Sony's way around. Was they were like, well, yeah, we'll just use like Venom's basically Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We'll just make a movie about him, and largely through the charisma of Tom Hardy,
Hmm.
that was like a success, and thus the Sony Spider-Man universe was born.
Hmm.
And so they made a sequel, and with Carnage, and they made Morbius, of course, our beloved Dr. Michael Morbius, and then they made this, all the while having like an unclear relationship with the MCU of like
Yeah.
Tom Hardy gets pulled into the MCU and then they're like, nah, actually we don't want him, chuck him back. Michael Keaton turns up in Morbius, I think, and they're like, hey, it's gonna cross over, we're gonna introduce our own Spider-Man, whatever. But this is basically just like Sony being like, yeah, I don't know, people like comic book stuff. The MCU's making a ton of money. Let's just, you don't need to overthink it. Just put some comic book characters out. And the deeply funny thing to me was like, amid like the MCU kind of like stumbling of like with Eternals and the Marvels and like Ant-Man, they'd had their first movies that were like not box office smashes and things. People were like, oh, is this unassailable like box office juggernaut? Is it safe anymore? And there's a big strategy about how Marvel were like, you know what, people are just oversaturated with these things. We're gonna rein it back. We're not gonna have like 5 movies out next year. We're just gonna have one, Deadpool versus Wolverine, and that'll maybe allow people to rekindle their love for superheroes. Meanwhile, Sony's like, no, we're putting 3 out. We're putting 3. Because
What
like,
else have they got?
yeah, it's such a great move by Sony because the average Joe doesn't distinguish between MCU and
No,
non-MCU.
no.
Probably
I don't even
they're
at this point. I forget. Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so far removed at this point that I do forget what's what. And like you say, they blurred the lines with Tom Holland jumping about
yeah,
and
exactly, yeah.
Hardy. I don't know what's what anymore.
It's such a baller move to be like, you know what, we're gonna take it easy and not put. We need to just let people build up a sensitivity to superheroes. Meanwhile, Sony's like, for every superhero movie you don't release, we're gonna release 5. And the MCU's like, no, please. And the
And
fact that they have the Marvel logo at the beginning of it
yeah,
as well is
but I think
just
there's irony in that as well because Deadpool has nearly saved Marvel, you could say, but that was
yeah,
Fox. You know, that was
yeah,
that
yeah.
was there. Marvel's got nothing on its own, so
You know how they win me back is if they're like, oh yeah, Secret Wars, Dakota Johnson's back as Madam Web. I would be like one of those people like applauding when like Chris Evans lifts the hammer. If a portal just opens and Dakota Johnson walks out just like in street clothes, be like,
yeah,
hey, I'm here. I'm Madam
yeah.
whatever.
Don't give her that much
Madam
energy.
Spider. Yeah. So that's the necessary grounding for this. And unfortunately, the Sony Spider-Man universe has come to a tragic end where I think they announced Craven's opening weekend, maybe. This is it. We're done.
Yeah,
We're shutting up shop. There's gonna be no more of these.
which is which is fair, which is fair at this point. If they've got nothing
Yeah.
else, I mean, man, fair enough.
Yeah, so to get into the movie at last, it begins in 1973, the Peruvian Amazon.
Hmm.
Werner Herzog's just downstream filming
Hmm.
Fitzcarraldo, and Mrs. Webb is in the Amazon researching spiders, and everything works out well for her. Anyway, she's researching like a special spider that has superpowers or
Hmm.
something, and their guide, their Alfred Molina from Raiders of the Lost Ark, is talking about like a tribe called Las Arañas who worship these spiders and are said to have superpowers or something. And I just thought like, oh, it's interesting, like just to flex with my like Oswald Cobblepot knowledge of Spanish, that like Spanish like spider is feminine in Spanish. So I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, it kind of is like a like Spider Women, I guess.
Yeah.
But like anyway, that's one of my only things to say
Well,
about.
my only thought was, oh, I remember when I was 11 and watched Sam Raimi, and I was like, I can't wait
Yeah.
in 20 years' time to find out the origins of these fucking spiders. You know, that's what I'm excited for.
Well, his spiders were grown in a lab. That's
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
thing. They were genetically engineered super spiders. One's missing. And so like Dakota Johnson's mum, Madam Webb Senior, gets like shot like almost instantly, doesn't
Yeah,
she? Like her
really fucking
partner
quick.
Tahar Rahim is like, hang on, there's a spider, bang bang
Yeah.
bang, or something. And she's pregnant, of course, and so Amazonian spider men come like swinging through the trees and scoop her up and take her to a cave. And it's funny, just like, I don't know, this was where like that's kind of Madam Web's thing, is basically she's like, Spider-Men have existed through all
Yeah.
throughout history,
Uh,
so like, I don't know, just one of those things, like deterministic, fatalistic thing. Like Peter Parker deserves no credit for designing the Spider-Man
yep.
suit
None of yeah, I know.
because
Like how the
he's
fuck?
just instinctively ripping off these Amazonian
And
Spider-Man
I
who've done it
thought of
with
that
like
with that,
twigs and
the analogy, the teenage analogy that you could be special and you can be something different. Actually,
no,
fuck that shit. There's 30 of you in the Amazon jungle, right? None of this fucking matters.
It's
Oh.
this is just, I'm glad we gave this the context because this is the Sony Spider-Man
Yeah.
universe. Is they're just like, no, there's a million of these, we're just gonna keep making these films. Actually, everyone in New York City was bitten by a radioactive spider. There's more spider people than not
Yeah,
in Manhattan.
absolutely.
And so Madam Web Senior is like, she's basically dying in childbirth,
Mhm.
and they take her into this pool, and like a spider bites her stomach, or does it bite her infant? Whatever.
I can't
Anyway,
remember. I remember her in the cave giving birth,
yeah.
dying.
And then we leap forward to 2003 New York, because did you know this is a period
Yeah,
piece?
right. Well, it's my only fucking note really to talk about in the film. So if you want to talk about the period piece, I paused the film because I was like, what fucking year is this set in? Like, isn't I thought it was current year, like, and
Yeah,
and I
no.
was like, wait, how Dakota Johnson doesn't look 60, you know?
This is
What's
bad if you are checked out within the first 5 minutes of the film
and I
because
was
it
just
flashes across the screen
yeah, no, it does, but
2003.
that's why I was like, why, right? But why? Because it doesn't
Yeah,
look like 2003.
no.
Technology, and there's bits later, the hacker lady
Well,
has.
well, 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 I beg to differ because the first thing we see is like a blockbuster that's on the
Well, yeah,
screen for
yes,
like
yes, yes, but
five
they
seconds.
don't stick to it. They stick to what the flashpoints, what people would think is 2003. And
I
I fucking
know,
googled it.
like,
I fucking googled it because it was my only bit of I need to know why this is set in 2003. And
yeah,
then this is because originally Spider-Man, Mr. Tom Holland, I believe was meant to be in this or some form of Spider-Man, and
Andrew Garfield, I think
I think
they
it
were
is
trying to
Tom
keep it.
because I think it was
Oh,
meant to be
okay, yeah,
set in the 90s or something before for
yeah,
Garfield, and
yeah.
then that wasn't going to happen. So they
Oh,
upped it
yeah,
to
because yeah, Andrew
2003 for
Garfield wasn't born in
yeah, so
2003.
for
You're
Tom
right.
Holland.
Yeah.
And then I seen there's something on, I don't have it open, but it was like IMDb that the director said it so she could use the song Toxic in the scene later on, the Britney Spears thing. But that song came out in 2004, and I got so angry. I got so
The
annoyed.
production designer is like, okay, so we're going to be making a 2003 period piece, so you're going to
I've
be
got it.
doing X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, but why? So I
Yeah,
can use the song Toxic by Britney Spears, of course.
and here it goes. Here I've got it open. Sorry, I got this for Wikipedia from IMDb. Sorry. A lot of the anachronisms can be explained by the fact that it's harder to replicate eras of the 21st century than the 20th, largely due to the rapid pace at which technology advanced. So nitpicking the gadgets is much more hard, and I fucking was so angry because I was alive in 2000. I could make something look like 2003. It's bullshit. It annoyed the piss out of me, and there was for no reason. There is no Tom Holland. Like there's no reason to do this. There's no
The,
reason to get the blockbuster. There's no reason to do any of it. Anyway.
that is just a Sony Spider-Man universe to a T, is like expending incredible amounts of effort for nothing.
Yeah, for
Just
absolutely
to
nothing.
just to kind of keep your options open. So like, well, maybe if Kevin Feige lets us,
Hmm.
then maybe Robert Downey Jr. could be in this film.
You
And
know,
then it's just like it bends over backwards to set up stuff which never pays off.
and
Uh,
I'm like, well, you could if you're gonna do that, then have be campy. Show me Sam Raimi poster in the background. Show me that
yeah,
movie in
yeah.
the theater. Come on, like have fun. There's no reason to do it, and it pissed me off beyond belief because it's never consistent. Technology, there's stuff here from now, from 2025 looking.
Yeah.
It's so infuriating. But anyway, that's my biggest gripe. That was my most annoying thing that made me stop the film, and I can move on now.
Well, that's the funny thing, yeah, is like Sony kind of knows that like these films kind of at some point do need to have a Spider-Man. So like they'll tease enough to get people in the audience and just not pay it off. So like I remember people freaking out because like the trailer for Morbius had, I think, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man on a poster in the background.
Hmm.
And people were like, oh my god, he's gonna be in it, he's gonna fight him, he's gonna whatever. It's just like thinking Spider-Man's going to be in a Sony Spider-Man is just the meme about
but
man loses to dog at chess.
but the thing is, you don't need any of the actors. We can just have a Spider-Man. You know, like
Yeah, CGI.
you
He
have
doesn't
the
take the
rights to
mask
him.
off.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
It's like
Mandalorian, you know? They don't actually need
it's
fucking
just the
anybody in it.
Simpsons of like, well, what Spider-Man did you think that was? Toby? That's who he was. Great.
Exactly. Like it really doesn't matter. And then they do nothing with it is just
Yeah.
mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling.
I hate how much I'm just revealing my nerddom in this. I've been, no one's gonna like this episode. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is this guy? But anyway, I read that the reason I got confused with the Andrew Garfield thing is that's rumored to be part of the reshoots. Is
Ah,
they shot this in the 90s thinking that Andrew Garfield would be the Spider-Man, and that aligns. I like to think that this is going to be like a Pink Floyd, like Dark Side of the Moon, Wizard of Oz thing of you can put in like Smells Like Teen Spirit in place of Toxic and it just syncs up perfectly. But their reshoot was to change it when they were like, oh, maybe no, maybe it'll be Tom Holland. So like I don't know, was there an 80s version of this movie which had like Tobey Maguire
yeah.
potentially? They're like,
And
okay, Dakota, now do that scene again but with leggings.
and 80s would have been fun as well, like
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's visually more distinct from modern audiences, and you won't get freaks like me questioning when Toxic came out and
yeah,
is
yeah.
that accurate? But like, yeah, it's just so stupid. And then why do it if you're doing the reshoots? Just skip forward, make it 2022 or whenever the fuck you want to make it.
Well, yeah, I was kind of embarrassed because, like, I don't know, I'd spent, like, my youth was spent looking at, like, 80s nostalgia and being like, that's so lame. Like, imagine being so pathetic that you'll clap like a seal when something you recognize from your youth pops up in a film. Ugh. And then they do this for 2003, and I'm like, amazing, it's the yeah,
But they
woo!
get it wrong. There's something
Yeah.
so infuriating, and especially because Sony film. I want to see all the Sony Ericssons and Sony mini
Yeah.
fucking disc
I want to
players.
see. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
want obsolete technology that current kids don't know existed, and it infuriated me that it wasn't.
I want Daniel Craig on a Sony Vaio.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
VCD, not even DVD. I want VCDs.
Yeah. So we're introduced. I don't have much, despite the fact that we've spoken for 2 hours about the first.
Yeah, I don't
I
have
don't
much.
have. So it starts off. Madam Web is a paramedic, and her partner is Uncle Ben,
Uncle Ben
played
Wyatt.
by Ben Wyatt. Exactly, yeah. And yeah,
Okay. This is the last three things I've watched are the Monkey, the latest
yeah,
episode of Severance, and then this. So I got jump scared by Adam Scott. I was like, oh, this man is following me like the monkey.
yeah.
This is gonna.
His web connects them all.
He is. I will say he does try a lot more than I expected him to.
Yeah,
He's not
yeah.
great, but he does give a little bit of a shit, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just not ready for young Uncle Ben in 2003. I just never. I was just like, oh, it's just Adam Scott. I was never like,
Oh, I
oh,
did.
this is Uncle Ben.
Yeah, never once, never once.
Yeah, my Uncle Ben is like an electrician who's struggling for work
Yeah,
and doesn't understand computer. He's not a man racing around the
yeah.
streets of Manhattan in
Yeah,
an
no,
ambulance.
100%. And he's not Ben Wyatt either. He's
Yeah,
never. I
yeah.
never think of him like
This man is in no danger of getting cucked by Joe Biden.
that.
But the two of them do some paramedic business in like an early scene, and then they go out for Chinese food, and they crack open some fortune cookies, and Ben is like, "You will get killed by a man when your nephew gets selfish," and whatever. He's like, "Oh, interesting." And Madam Web is like, her fortune says, "You will." And then there's like a ball of ink or something. Like it says there's two words and then there's something. And he's like, oh, interesting. I have no future.
That was a good delivery. Like that is the Dakota Johnson fucking entire tone throughout the movie. So well done there.
Thank you. um, and then we're probably missing like
Oh,
substantial
it
things.
doesn't
Ben
matter.
reveals that he's dating someone because she's like, oh, another one. Is
Mhm.
she gonna stick around? Like, what's her name? And then does he say May or does he? I can't
I don't think
remember.
he does. I
I
don't
don't
know.
think he does either, no. And then there's an incident, they're responding to a crime, and okay, Madam Web's name is Cassie.
Mhm.
She's in a car that falls off bridge,
Yay,
and
Spider-Man.
she goes into another world with the web that connects them all because that spider venom that's in her DNA is suddenly activated, and she sees just like these visions and webs reaching out,
Mhm.
and thus begins the adventures of Madam Web.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, Tahar Rahim is now in New York, and he hasn't aged a day really
No.
since killing her mum. And what is really funny is he hooks up. We meet him at a club or something, and he
Mhm.
hooks up with a woman, and like we see them go into his apartment,
Mhm.
and it's shot through a tank with spiders, and he has one of the spiders, one of the magic Amazonian spiders, and they like sleep together. And then he has a vision of him being killed by three young
Mhm.
women, and he wakes up, and it's kind of like the, and she's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Nothing. I just visioned myself being killed by
Yeah, he's so
three
grumpy about
spider
it. He's
women."
not even like that. He's like, oh, I've been. You wouldn't know what it's like to be murdered by three spider women.
Yeah.
See your own death.
And he says this happens every night.
Yep.
um, so I don't know. To go back to another Dakota Johnson film, just be a Mr. Grey.
Yeah.
Don't let women stay the night.
Mhm.
If you know that you're gonna wake up screaming because you've
This is
had the fantasy where spider women throw you out a window again, just be like, yeah, so maybe you
this
should go back to your place. The Uber's
this
on its
was
way.
my favorite scene though because the lady immediately going for the gun made me laugh. Like no hesitation, just reaches over and then he poisons her. I think grabs her wrist or I don't know what the fuck he does. He kills her anyway. But
Yeah.
it was also this was my realization that maybe Dakota isn't going to give the worst performance in the film, and I got quite excited. So that was my vote.
Yeah.
Love this scene.
Yeah. So then basically he heads off to his Barbara Gordon essentially, who
Hmm.
is I don't know how to say her name, Zosia Mamet, David Mamet's daughter, Shoshana from Girls, who is like his girl in the chair.
Hmm.
And this is like the funniest fucking thing imaginable because he's like, I had the dream again, being killed by the Spider Woman. And she's like, okay, well, I've got the post 9/11 surveillance state,
Yeah,
and so I have the face of every person who exists and who has
period.
ever existed in New
Looks
York.
like fucking The Dark Knight looks worse, and that's what 2008, and I'm like, come on
Yeah,
to fuck.
yeah.
This laptop I'm recording on now is of lesser technology.
Yeah,
Furious.
well, and what is really, really fucking funny is that she is like, well, based on your description of them from your dream, here I have the three figures. And it's like, it's picture perfect of you just based off her. It's not even like a court
No,
stenographer or
no.
something. It's like based off his description, she's got Sydney Sweeney's headshot.
Yep.
It's just it's so funny. And then she's like, okay, based off the descriptions you gave me about, I don't know, the Yeah Yeah Yeahs album Mosquito or whatever it's called playing, I put it at like 10 or so years, and so here's what they look like aged, like de-aged 10 years. And it just reminded me of, like, in Nathan Fielder Finding Francis,
Mhm.
when he's like he's got the guy to like do the aging. um, um, that's just all I could think about. And already, like, that's one of the most stupid things in
Nah,
a movie very filled with
yes,
stupid things.
yes. These are peaks as well for me. These are
Yeah.
my high points. I'm almost enjoying this because this is like okay, this might not be boring. This looks, but
Yeah.
this is my peak. This is absolutely my peak scene.
Well, the funny thing is that, like, in the post 9/11 surveillance state, where Shoshana from Girls is just like got a camera in everyone's. I've got signal from everyone's cell phone. Spider-Man. The thing that it made me think of was Luigi Mangione, because I'm like the Spider Girls are just gonna get ratted on because they go to a McDonald's,
Hmm.
and the self scan cashier is like, oh, hang on, these are the guys who will kill Tahar Rahim in 10 years. Ding ding ding, and like My next note is Pepsi product placement,
Hmm.
because there is a lot of product placement in this movie.
There is.
Because Cassie and Uncle Ben go to a baby shower for Ben's sister, Mary Parker. And this is where I owe you an apology, because I jumped down your throat when you mentioned Emma Roberts and that not getting her as Aunt May. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'd seen this movie and I forgot that Emma Roberts isn't Aunt
Yeah.
May. She's Peter Parker's mum. But because she's pregnant and she's having a baby shower, and Dakota Johnson, for some reason, you have invited your brother's co-worker who's kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's a backstory there. I really don't know. This is our first premonition scene, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, let's just cover the Pepsi product
Okay,
placement
sorry,
thing,
sorry.
because I think someone offers her a drink or something, or a beer, and she's like, I would like a delicious can of Pepsi, and like holds it up to camera. It's honestly the Wayne's World scene.
I can't remember if it is it a 2003 Pepsi though, or is it a modern day Pepsi?
It didn't look. It kind of split the difference. I
Okay.
don't think it was modern, but nor did it look.
Because that's where you get the problem. Is even for Sony, if you're doing your you can't fucking advertise a PS2. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't show off the Sony Ericssons and things. What's the point? You can't product placement 30-year-old things.
Hey Cassie, do you want a promotional Attack of the Clones Pepsi? We've got some left over.
We've got loads.
um, yeah. And so they do some game where they're like, oh, let's guess the baby's name or whatever.
Yeah,
And that, you're right, that's when Dakota has her first premonition, which
the balloon
I
popping.
actually, yeah, I actually kind of like how they, like, Madam Web fundamentally is a boring character,
Hmm.
because she just sits around and tells people, like, she's not an active character. She
Not
doesn't
at
do
all.
anything.
Not at all.
But um, they've made this a bit source codey in that, like, it's like Groundhog Day, basically, of she can kind of, like, she gets caught in these loops and, like, sort of does things and has the opportunity to change the past. So I think this is actually one of the best ways to deal with a character who has, like, pre-sight or whatever, I guess. And then we have maybe my one of my favorite lines is they're playing some game where they're like, and like, write something about your mom and put it in the middle in this hat and we'll draw it out. And someone's like, my mom used to like bake cookies for me, and they're like, who's that? And someone's like, it was me. And then Emma Roberts pulls one out. It's like, oh, this one's blank. And Dakota Johnson's like, well, that's me. My mom's dead. Um, and I'm like, it's such a great move to not be like, well, I'm just not gonna put anything in,
Yeah.
but it's like I'm gonna put a blank
I'm
one
gonna
in.
put
I'm gonna
so
like, I'm
people
gonna write.
bring it up so I can
Yeah,
tell them
exactly.
they're.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
It's the most diva move.
you could do anything. You could say she liked traveling. She liked research. Boom.
Yeah,
Move on. Who
yeah,
cares?
yeah,
Love
yeah.
and
You can
sex.
also just like no one's gonna force you. You can just like easily not put anything
Yeah.
in, but she does it, and then she says my favorite line. Um, my mom actually died in childbirth, but it wasn't that bad. And then I think she
Incredibly
has another
rare
line.
or something. Yeah.
She's like, well, it was bad, but it's not that common, so
Yeah.
you'll be fine. And this is why I love Dakota Johnson in this performance so much, because no one else could deliver. My mom actually died in childbirth, but it wasn't that bad. She's just so amazing and so believable as that awkward weirdo who turns up.
I believe you're being very generous here. I think our Dakota lines are very different, but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'd like someone to give it that pizzazz, I guess, and maybe be a bit more diva. We've come from
Bo Derek?
We've come from Catwoman, fucking. This is we've seen the Diva 2003 films.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna walk this back immediately, but I almost think this is one of my favorite performances in a Razzie film.
Okay, I'm done.
Because for so long Dakota Johnson has been looking for a film which allows her to showcase this weird energy, and finally we have it. Like if she'd been just like if they'd allowed her to like sass Christian Grey with like just being awkward and weird, I would have been much more on board with that. And then we're taking a gigantic leap forward because my next note is New York City is a whole new level of crazy these days, which Dakota is on the subway and things start going a little bit crazy. And that guy delivers. It's an inherently. I don't know. It might be an inherently NPC line, but that man delivers the most NPC performance of like, the Spider-Man PS2 video game.
Mhm.
Did you play that as
I
much as
did,
I did?
yeah, I did. That's a fucking great game.
Yeah, where there'd be like little lines of like my balloon or whatever.
Yeah. I need a pizza.
Yeah, and the guy's like, it's always something in this
Yeah.
town. New York City is a whole new level of crazy these days. That is one of those.
Mhm.
That's just like, I'm like, for God's sake, give the man a better line, because it's obviously this is going to be like a Groundhog Day loop point,
Mhm.
and it's just, yeah, it's it's bad because Dakota realizes that there are like 3 women on the train.
Mhm. And she's met Sydney Sweeney because I was in the hospital because it was her wee
Yeah, so
brother
it's me
that wanted to give
stepmother or
her
whatever.
a drawing. I can't remember what it
Yeah,
was. I can't remember, but
it was just a generic drawing. You should have drawn like Venom or something.
yeah, fucking Electro or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So Sydney Sweeney is like, yeah, her stepmom's in hospital or whatever, and then the other girl we've seen, but for whatever reason, Tahar Rahim appears, and he's like, thanks to Shoshana from Girls, I know where these women are, and I'm gonna kill them to stop
Mhm.
them killing me.
Mhm.
And Dakota is able to loop and see like, oh, we need to stay on the train. Oh, we need to get off the train. Oh, we need to I need to save these girls and save these girls in a way which doesn't involve me getting like arrested by the cops. And she successfully does it,
Oh, it's
basically.
rough though, man. I know you're praising Dakota
Yeah.
here, but her storming down the fucking aisleway being like, everybody off the train, everybody off the train. I need everybody off the fucking train now.
Yeah.
And
It's just kind of, yeah,
one of the
whatever.
Spider Women had their skateboards. I couldn't tell you which one it was. It could be Sydney. It could have been not Sydney. And yeah, it's rough, but she does. She gets them off the train. She gets them away.
Yeah, and she drives them into the middle of nowhere, essentially. And you look like you want to say
I
something?
don't know. Well, I know she turns on the
Okay.
radio here. I think is when they. Is this where they realize that the police are after them?
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah. They're like,
There's 3
an
young
ironically
girls.
detached woman has kidnapped 3 young girls, and it's.
Yeah. So then she drives them off into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
They're all questioning, but then again, there's nothing. There's nothing to them. The spider ladies, especially at this point already, it's just yeah. Carry on.
Yeah. So Sweeney recognizes her and she says, "You're the paramedic. You saved my stepmother, then you were super awkward about it." And another Hall of Fame line reading from Dakota is, "That does sound like me."
Again, that one had too much energy this time.
Let me take a couple Xanax and I'll get back to you. And so she works out that like the other girl is like, "Oh, you like you live in my building or
Yeah,
whatever."
yeah, yeah.
And then she's like, "Well, the third one is like, well, I've never seen you ever, so fuck you." And Dakota's like, "You flipped me off one time." Um, and so once again, my mouth was agape, and I was like, "Oh my god, her web connects them all."
Mhm.
My next note is Beyonce poster, because like to give SJ Clarkson like her credit here, she's made the production designer work their ass off to be like, I've made a 90s period piece. Bad news, it needs to be the 2003 period piece. But she gives the production designer their dues, because every little period detail, whether that be Blockbuster or a Pepsi Coke can, it just gets lingered on for like a
Mhm.
good like 10 seconds. And so we get a Beyonce poster because,
Mhm.
hey, remember in 2003, Beyonce was there.
Yeah, she was
Because
in
when
she was
was.
in Goldmember.
I was going to say, when is Goldmember? Yeah. And then my next note is toxic.
Well, my note before is when the girls Dakota's like, stay in the fucking, don't go anywhere. I have to go do something. I can't remember what she's off to do. And the girls immediately hightail it to a diner.
Yeah.
And when they go, it's scandalous. that plays, like when you
Oh,
walk
true.
in,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's in Catwoman. And I remember that, and I was like, oh, but that film's in 2003, so maybe, maybe all my anachronistic fucking nitpicking is wrong. Maybe IMDb's right. Maybe it's really hard to get it. But
yeah.
yeah, they go to diner. I can't remember why. They want food. They just want to get out. It's weird. We're with a weird lady, and we're gonna go get something to eat. I think that's it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, yeah, that's it. They need to go to a diner so they can dance to Toxic, so they can do their Coyote
Coyote
Ugly
Ugly,
thing of
yeah, yeah.
just, yeah, dancing on tables in the most conspicuous
Oh,
manner possible.
awkward as well. Really
Some
awkward.
guy pulls out a phone and is like broadcasts on TikTok, like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm with these three Spider Women dancing to Toxic." And TikTok doesn't exist yet, but I would post this if I could.
Your grandkids are
Um,
gonna love it.
hey, hey, Elon, this is your cousin, Marvin Musk. I've got an ideal video to upload to your platform. Um, um, and so Dakota, she was going away to get like a car or an ambulance or something, because I think she totals the car that she steals, or she's like, we need something less conspicuous to get you away. And then she's like, oh, fuck. Here's like a radio, like, three young women, in other news, three young women are dancing on a table in the upstate area to Toxic, that
Yeah.
new tune by Britney Spears, which has got a preview airing. And Tahar Rahim rushes off
Well,
to...
that's it. Some guy phones the police, and
Yeah,
Tarim's intercepting. I think he's got like a
yeah.
radio interceptor, so he can
Of course
find
he
her.
does, yeah.
He does too. His lady doesn't help him out this time. I think this is the first time he actually does something
Yeah, yeah.
himself. So he comes rushing, and I forgot, like, and immediately clicked. I was like, oh, this is the trailer, isn't it? This is the entire
Yeah.
trailer is this diner scene. So yeah, take it away.
So I actually think it's kind of cool. They do this, I think, in the subway, but when Tahar Rahim, because Tahar Rahim is evil Spider-Man. I don't know if we've made that clear at this point in time, but his suit isn't like the Amazonian improv suit. He just has like a black Spider-Man suit,
Which is hard to
and his
do
eye.
and make it not look like Spider-Man Venom's 3 suit, the
Yeah,
black one.
yeah. He looks like Miles Morales if he had the
Yeah,
symbiote or something.
I
Like
I
it's
will
too
say it.
similar to what we've seen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and his eyes are a little bit angrier, but that's
yeah.
basically just the thing. But the camera work is actually pretty cool. Of like the camera will flip when he jumps from like the ceiling to the floor or whatever, or vice versa, and the camera will rotate and follow him.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is actually more visually stylish than any of the John Watts Spider-Man, Tom Holland movies, because they look like dog shit.
I mean,
But at least that move is kind of cool.
it'd be all right if I hadn't seen it in the fucking trailer, you know.
Yeah, yeah, fair
It
enough.
was okay. I don't think I'm as generous as you. I think because I at this point have nearly clocked out any care. Even these little flourishes, they zoomed over my head.
Well, you're gonna absolutely fucking hate my next note, which
Hmm.
is that it's overstated on Twitter, but this actually looks pretty good compared to the MCU movies. Because this could pass for an Elektra, or this could pass for something shot in 2003, because it's actually shot in the real world versus, hey, we're on the volume, or like, it's the MCU and none of the characters are in the same room.
I will give you that, especially seeing so many exterior shots, especially with Adam Scott, paramedic. And I was like, oh, he looks outside. It looks like,
Daylight!
yeah,
Wow,
I
I
know.
forgot what that looked like. We're both Andy Dufresne just crawling out through a tunnel and be like, oh my god,
Yeah,
wow.
I will give
Where
you.
the rain's falling down, we're like, we're covered in shit, but still, it's real, it's not CGI.
And but if that's if that's the standard, it's a fucking low bar at this point as well. But yeah, I will give you that. I will say it is nicer looking. It looks nicer in stills. It looks nicer in motion at times, especially
Yeah.
after some of the fucking last, especially Ant-Man-mania or whatever, the Hulkamania, whatever the fuck it was called. That was rough.
Yeah. I saw Captain America Brave New World a couple weeks ago, and that is incredible just how like bad the finale to that film looks. Where you're just like, I'm watching a completely artificial environment and not even a good one.
Yeah.
I guess they're the two ends of the spectrum of like Ant-Man Hulkamania was like fake and it looked fake and bad, whereas Captain America was like meant to be the real world, but it also looked fake and
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like both of these movies are taking place in the same place, which is a CGI void.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know who does this to who, but there's a move in this which is like a Neo Doctor Strange
Mhm.
like soul punch out of the body, and like, is it Madam Web? Madam Web doesn't punch to Haruhim's. Is
I
it
thought
maybe he punches her and her soul goes out and she's like, woo? Anyway, it's something you've seen in other movies, and the thing which it most reminded me of was Scott Pilgrim. You punched the highlights out of her hair.
hmm
But yeah, in order to get to the bottom of shit, Madam Web is like, I need to go to the Amazon, so I'm going to leave you with Ben Parker.
hmm
And don't you dare get him killed because his nephew needs to do that in 20 years' time.
Yes, he is.
It's a very formative event for him.
Yeah.
So, actually, do you think the reason they don't show Aunt May is because they wanted to leave it ambiguous as this might be Marissa Tomei? That'll be why they don't show it. Is
Uh,
because
for who? For why? like, for...
I I think
Why put
I
another
think
30 million on the budget to do reshoots?
I
Just for
don't
that.
know who the head of Sony is. I think Amy Pascal. I don't know if she does with the whoever the Sony version of Kevin Feige is just Madam Web. It's like Amy Pascal seeing all possibilities and being like, if we never show Aunt May, then there's no reason it can't be Marissa Tomei. And she's just seeing the box office for this
Mhm.
film go up if people think that it's related to
But
the
that's
Spider-Man films they
it's
like.
what you touched on earlier though. Like Ben Wyatt is not Uncle Ben. He
Cliff
doesn't feel like
Robertson, yeah.
he doesn't look like him. He
No.
doesn't act. But you would never imagine it. I didn't think
Yeah.
of whatever version. I don't know when he was cast or when it was reshot. I think there's a version where he might not be Uncle Ben. He could just be
Yeah.
Cass's paramedic pal, Ben Wyatt.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
go stay with him, and everything's quickly. I don't know. I really don't know. This is where it gets really messy when it gets. Ironically, when it gets tying into the Spider-Man web, it gets very, very messy.
You're right. The fan service is like more tasteful than you'd expect
hmm
because there's a lot of things they can do to hint at Spider-Man without
There's a fucking
actually.
few bits of fan service that stuck me. There's a fucking when they go to the diner, she's like, "Oh, come on, I'm hungry. You won't like me when I'm hungry or something or hangry." I think
Oh,
it is.
true.
And I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I'm
yeah.
you dirty little sods. Don't make me think of the Hulk, please."
I didn't even connect that because I'm like,
Yeah.
we just live in such a soy
And
world where
then
I forgot that that's
on
a common.
on
Yeah.
the Ben fucking Parker whatever, there's a line as well where I think it is here when she's like, "Look after them," or it's no, it's later on where it's like, "He's good being an uncle. You have no responsibility," and she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's what you think," and like
Yeah, yeah.
winks to the camera. So there
That's
was a
yeah,
few
we'll
real
cover that.
bits.
We'll
There was
cover
a few
that. Yeah.
bits that made me stick out. There was like, okay, you're making me think of Spider-Man for a reason, or Hulk, or whatever, or the
Yeah.
MCU. But yeah, there wasn't. I mean, I don't know. There was no Sony verse stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know who it's for.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Dakota goes to the Amazon because her mom was researching spiders in the
Fucking
Amazon when
Luke's
she
there as
died.
well. Like she just
Yeah.
fucking clicks her
Yeah.
fingers and let's go to Peru. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, sound.
And she meets the Las Arañas,
Yeah.
and she has the reason that she has these passive aggressive digs at her mom at a baby shower is because Dakota like kind of resents her mom. Is she's like, she was more interested in dying in the Amazon than she was being a mother. And then the guy gives her a
Oh,
flashback, or
it's
the
fucking hilarious.
walkers.
Like, cause she's in the one spot in Peru that he was, and he just like
Yeah,
walks out, and
yeah.
he's like, you must be Cassandra then." I knew your mum." I was like, "What?
Because Cassandra was a seer in ancient Greece,
You were
so
just
her
waiting
web
here.
connects them all.
You were waiting here for 30 years in this one spot." Like, nah, not having
He knew it would come. The
it.
spiders told him,
Nah.
Kyle. They told him.
Why does Peter not get these powers?
And so he like bathes her in the waters or whatever, and that gives her a vision, and she sees that her mom, basically, I think she had like an illness, or she had like some condition, and her mom was researching spiders to save her. And it's like, no, actually she wasn't like a woman pursuing her career. She was pursuing her career because of her love as a mother or whatever. And Dakota's just like, wow, And that's her character arc, because she's like, you know what, I need to be a mother to these
I
girls.
need to be a
And
mother. Yeah.
yeah, and great line reading. um, and the guy says to her, and when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Mhm.
Which I liked, but it did kind of remind me of the guy in Mystery Men who just inverts things. Who's like, and if you do not master your fear, then. And Ben Stiller is like, your fear will become your master? That's what you were going to say, right? um, uh, so Mystery Men, another better film that I would rather have been
Yeah.
watching.
2000. When's that? 2099? 2000? 2003? Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah, I don't know. Around this time.
He rented it from Blockbuster.
And then zipping towards the end,
Oh yeah.
Madam Web fights Tahar Rahim, and the funniest thing, speaking of product placement, the finale to this film takes place on a neon sign for Pepsi.
Mhm.
And like I should have used it as my background, but like the big villain shot is Tahar Rahim stood in front of a
Mhm.
Pepsi advert. It's so
Mhm.
fucking funny. It's like, you know how like the Spider-Man No Way Home is like, oh, it's on the Statue of Liberty or whatever.
Which
It's
one's
just
that
like
again?
someone's like,
Which was No Way Home?
that's the cameo
Oh
one.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Uh, um, and it's just like some Sony exec being like, yeah, but the Statue of Liberty didn't pay them any money to shoot there, so it's just like it's such naked product placement. I love it. And then Madam Web fights Tahar Rahim, and she says, "You've been trying to change your future, but the girls were never your future. I was." And like in this during the course of this fight, like the girls kind of help her out or whatever, but she gets like
Yeah.
kicked into the water and electrocuted, or like she ends up like blinded basically,
And
and
paralyzed, I
that's
think.
how, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how she becomes the Madam Web that we know and tolerate.
Try to remember.
And so she defeats Tahar Rahim. I can't remember how she actually deals the killing blow, but like
He gets
he
crushed, I think.
chokes on
They
some
all, they all, they
delicious
all, they
Pepsi.
all distract them.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
hey, Tareem, over here, and then they're all moving about, and yeah, the entire time I did check out right here though, like the ending fight. I just thought, oh, Spider-Man 3
yeah.
is not that bad, is it? Like Spider-Man 3 is
No,
so
no.
much fun, and I was like, I remember so much about Spider-Man 3, and all the
Yeah.
buildings and the fight with Eddie, and that was good times, good times.
See, this does just prove how exceptional Peter Parker actually is,
Mhm.
because this guy also has spider sense, but he's distracted by a woman going like, "Hey, look over there,"
Do you
and
want a
just lets himself get hit by a
Pepsi?
he gets hit by a truck because he was distracted. Um, and so Madam Web is then in hospital with her eyes bandaged up, and she's like, you know what, I'm gonna look after these young women, whatever.
Well,
And
that's it.
this is
There's a fun line in here as well where the nurse comes in and she's like, "Are you immediate family?" And she's like, "Yes, these are my girls."
yeah, it's so funny. It's such a cold, just like emotionless line.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And this is where the line this is where there's that one that you mentioned,
Mhm.
Uncle Ben saying all of the fun and none of the responsibility, and then Dakota, this is probably the line that she puts the most sauce on, is when she's like, that's what he thinks.
Yeah.
It's like, you're joking about him getting shot. He
Yes.
gets murdered because of his nephew.
His whole point in life is to die, just to
Yeah,
be
this is your
shot.
co-worker, and you're being like,
Your
ha ha ha,
only
little do
friend.
you know, you're gonna die in an alley with your nephew. You're gonna die in an alley in
We
such a
did.
way that will haunt your nephew for eternity. He will just be crippled by not saving you.
Who has been born? We did skip that. Ben
Yeah,
Wyatt has to race through the streets and past all the red lights to
yeah.
get Peter
Emma
born.
Roberts to yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I get Benito.
And then we cut to like the New York like loft apartment with a deeply funny scene where the girls come up to see Madam Web, and she's like, they brought takeout, and she's like, I hope you like, and she cuts them off, and it's like, Kung Pao chicken is perfect. And she's like, bless you, Anya. And then Anya's like, what? And then sneezes. And it's just like, it's just the most flexing of her power in the
Yeah.
most dumb way. It's like, these girls are alive because they know you have incredible powers. Why do you need to be like, hey girls, do you want to know the winning lottery numbers?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're blind and paralyzed, but you didn't see that coming, did you? And she had no reaction to fucking her injuries either. It's
yeah,
quick. She's just sassier. That's all it's done to her. Like,
yeah, yeah.
oh,
Which makes me a little bit frustrated that we didn't get the sequel to this film to just see her, like, it's like, I don't know, you know that like meme about like Surf Dracula where they're like every in the olden days Surf Dracula would happen in the first 10 minutes, but now
mhm,
it's like a 10-part series and he only becomes Surf Dracula in like the last half of the last episode.
mhm.
And I feel a little bit like that with Madam Web. But then we get out of there sharpish with Dream by the Cranberries, which I think is just a cheat code for tricking me into thinking that I've had more fun watching the movie. I'm like, well, it's over, and that tune's playing, so
Yeah.
I'm high on life.
And you know me though, I've already clicked the X button. I'm already downstairs outside for a cigarette.
Yeah.
Are we done yet? Are we done yet? Cool.
Yeah.
Bump up.
Yeah. Amazing. So that concludes it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other awards for this film.
Hmm.
So, as well as winning Worst Picture, it was nominated for Worst Director, S.J. Clarkson.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I get it. I will say, right, like at the end, I think this was better than Morbius. I think
Massively,
I
yeah.
think I'll remember bits of this more than maybe.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll
Oh, it's a
see.
tough one.
I think as a director, I did read that she had quite a lot of creative control over the film,
Yeah.
or she said that, I think. She was quoted as saying that she did get a lot of freedom. So I can blame her for a lot of things, especially, yeah, that's the take, Dakota. That's the take. That's the
Yeah,
take we're
yeah.
gonna go with. Yeah, like it's poor direction for your actors. Like even the Spider Women are all delivering everything so bland and just so motionless. So yeah, I'm gonna say that it is deserved.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard for me to go out to the matches for S.J. Clarkson. I thought I took a note about this, but it appears to have disappeared. There's one bit towards the end which has an incredibly funny camera move where they crash zoom in on Dakota during a line, and I wish that note was around. But anyway, listeners, if you watch it, then look out for that and message us on social media because I wish I could
Message
remember how
you.
the crash zoom was.
I don't want to see it again.
I,
But yeah, I'm not. I'm not. And I think it's her directorial debut as well, and that's
yeah.
that's a shame. Like you're done. You're not getting the damn Web 2. Sony are closing the Pepsi book on you.
We're not getting Madam Web 2.
We can make Madam Web 2.
Oh man, how long before Madam Web enters the public domain? And when will Dakota Johnson return my phone calls? Um, maybe this is how I become an AI bro, is I drop all my objections to AI in order to have a deep fake Dakota Johnson in my Madam Web fan film. Um, I'm just gonna become like Jimmy Stewart in Vertigo. I'm just gonna be like casting actresses and be like, okay, put on this brunette wig
Mhm.
and say this line. Say that does sound like me. Yeah, okay, and so aptly, the next award is Worst Actress. Dakota Johnson won.
Yeah.
You know me, I don't think she's even nomination worthy.
Yeah, easy days. No debate.
You think
It's,
she's
it,
worthy of a win?
yeah. And again, you got paid well for this. You could at least try. Um, like Chris Martin has enough money. You don't need to do these roles if you don't want to do them. You don't give a shit. Don't do them.
Yeah, I forgot she was with Chris Martin. That
Ah,
makes me
Richard.
like her less. No one interesting could be with him.
Cancel Madam Web 2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. No question. No qualms from me. That's a clear
Yeah.
winner.
So this makes her a two-time winner because, of course,
Mhm.
she also won for 50 Shades of Grey.
And I think she's better than 50 as well. I think
Oh, no
I think she
way.
is.
No,
I think
no
she
way.
actually is. And I know I'm going out on that limb. I'll say she's slightly better in 50 Shades of Grey than in Madame Web.
Oof. Oof.
Slightly, like slightly.
Then next up, worst supporting actor nomination for Tahar Rahim.
Again, like there's no trying, caring.
Yeah.
Everything's flat. Like you're just, yeah.
So yeah, I didn't have a strong opinion on him when the nominations came out, but watching this again, I was like, yeah, you fucking suck. Like
Because that's my
you're
point. Like Adam Scott's not got much great stuff to work with, but you can tell he's trying. He's at least given some bit of a gusto, and he's only in it for fucking 5-10 minutes, really. So
yeah.
that stuck
Being
out.
an evil scenery chewing villain should in theory be more of an easy task, but yeah.
Ah, and you to get that job, yeah. Because if we're going to fan cast, you put anyone else fun in that role,
Yeah.
and get someone to chew through it, get someone to hacking it up, and yeah, I'd have a
Yeah.
lot more fun. If my two
Yeah.
leads gave a shit, I think I'd have had a lot more fun.
Well, the funny thing is, Tahar Rahim first came on my radar for A Prophet, which was, of course, directed by Jacques Audiard, the director of Emilia Perez, perhaps future Academy Award winner in a few
Yeah,
hours,
yeah.
Jacques Audiard. But the next nomination, Worst Supporting Actress, Emma Roberts. She's not in the film enough to
No,
be
no, not
bad.
at all,
Yeah,
not at all, not at all. And even the Spider Gals, yeah, they're not great,
yeah.
but there's not enough. Like I couldn't even tell you their names. So
We haven't
I,
named them. We haven't. Well, we're like Anya is the one who sneezes.
yeah, this
Sydney
is
Sweeney is Sydney
Sydney Sweeney.
Sweeney, and then there's the one that gives her the finger that might be Anya. But yeah, they're super generic. Because I guess maybe we should say they don't get their powers. Like
No.
you only see them as Spider Women in flash forward visions,
Mhm.
which again is used in the trailer, I think. But they're like,
Mhm.
no, just it's the Monty Python sir not appearing in this film.
Well, that's it. I don't know if that's taken out the Spider-Man as well, that we have to take out our Spider-Women and just really
Yeah,
pull back
yeah,
from the spiders, I guess. I don't
yeah,
know, ironically.
yeah,
This film has too many spider people in it. Yeah, but I'm going to give them a pass just on not being in it enough or not doing enough.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
two leads that are my biggest gripes.
Okay, okay. Worst screenplay, it won for Matt Sazama and Burke Sharples and Claire Parker and S.J. Clarkson. So that would
So,
appear.
yeah, the
Sorry?
first two lads are the Morbius writers.
They are
They
correct.
are. Because I looked it up, I was like, who
Yeah,
wrote this? Because I
yeah,
have four writers as well. And then I was like, who's to blame here?
yeah. So it's
I,
Sazama and
ass- I assume, I don't know this, you could correct me right now. I assume the Morbius writers did the first version or the first draft,
yeah,
and then the next writers are to blame for the mess that it is.
yeah. That's
I
exactly
will,
it.
I will
So
give them a pass.
it's Sazama and Sharples, Sazama ampersand Sharples. So they were a writing partnership, and then Parker ampersand Clarkson. So those two worked on it, and then the other two redrafted it.
Because we could work forever on Madame Web too, and then if we give it to the hands of other people, this is
They drew in it.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would. Don't do the reshoot. Stick
Yeah.
to
What do you mean you're not casting Franco Nero as the villain? Why are you doing? Why have you done this to us? Yeah, and so now that brings us on to the Razzie worthiness of this film. Do you think this is Razzie worthy?
nominated. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a discussion we'll have for the next part.
yeah,
I don't want it to be. I've said it before. I said it many a time that the Kate stuff should be in its own category at this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Like I don't know. It shouldn't be judged in the same way. It's factory produced, just trash. So yes and no, but that's a discussion for later, I think. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the same as you in that I know you should try and be objective and you should try and judge it for itself as opposed to within context. But at the same time, like narrative is so much of the Razzies and just trying to find out what criteria are you using from year to year
Exactly.
because there's
The Morbius
no
standard is exactly what
yeah.
I'm makes me conflicted, and if we're going on these big swing and a misses and artistic art, as some people would call them, or are we going to just because this is it. This is it from now on. It's Captain New World Order next year. It's fucking Ant-Man 6 next year after. It's all
Yeah.
just going to be this ad nauseum for the rest of our fucking lives.
But yeah,
So I don't
but
know.
we could also tell things were heading that way like in the past. So like it's just curious that he's chosen now being the moment. And I almost wonder Shouldn't accuse the Razzies of misogyny, but the fact that
Never.
the fact that this is like their only two superhero movies to win are like female led
Yeah.
pictures, aren't they?
Yeah, Morbius didn't win, but
Yeah,
Blonde did. Makes me fucking question things.
yeah. Like Catwoman, this I guess Howard the Duck. Howard is male, but like yeah,
He's not
Morbius.
a superhero, pussy. He's a duck.
um, it's just like speaking of the narrative, I listened back to our episode in order to get our predictions because I didn't write them down anywhere,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
it just listening to it and knowing that Madam Web won, I was like, we should have called it because I actually say in the episode like, oh, we're living in Elon Musk's world now, and this is the ultimate Elon Musk Razzie winner of it's living the
Yeah,
meme, like how there's living the dream and there's living the meme. Well, we're pretty much living the meme of like this wins on the basis of
I have become meme.
yeah, this is oh ha ha ha. My mom was researching Amazon spiders in the
Yeah,
Amazon when she
yeah,
died.
yeah.
Like
It is.
this is a not funny meme which isn't in the movie. Of like if you wanna meme it up, if you wanna be down with the kids, then go for Morbius. Morbius was much more
Yeah,
memeified, much
it
funnier,
was. Yeah,
and this is just
much worse.
yeah,
Yeah,
and this just has like the Amazon line which doesn't make the cut. And so it radiates Elon Musk vibes of something that people have stopped laughing at like 9 months
yeah,
ago, and you just come in,
yeah.
and maybe
I
this,
thought I forgot. You know, like I even forget it was last year. You know, you could tell me it was 21 or
yeah,
22, and
yeah.
I believed you. I couldn't. You know,
Well, that's the other aspect which makes this worthy, and this is the right winner for our time and place because it's just Back to the Future. It's just like yeah,
Mhm.
we're rolling back progress. We're back in 2003. Um,
And and that, like you say, that's and it did remind me of things. It reminded me, yeah, Elektra, like you said,
yeah,
that's a spin-off.
yeah.
That was a shit film. Supergirl in '84 or
Oh
whatever, like
yeah,
that was a
yeah,
shit. That's a shitty spin-off. Like there's precedent for these kind of films,
yeah,
these female-led superhero spin-offs, actual spin-offs. But yeah, I don't know, mixed, very mixed on it.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so all that remains is your smallest change that can make the biggest difference.
Okay, and I'm gonna. This is a very typical Kyle answer. It needs a fucking score.
Yeah, yeah.
There is no score. There is some pop culture songs. Give it a bombastic, give it a fucking proper superhero theme, and I think that would have helped a lot, a
That would,
lot. Like it's,
yeah, yeah.
it would take away some of the flat performances. It could highlight, make things a bit more exciting. Just give me a
Uh,
really memorable
What the
theme.
fuck is Danny Elfman up to these days? Just
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just
drive a
fucking
truckload of cash up to his
a
door
minute.
and
I need 1 minute from you, Danny. Just 1 minute, and we'll
sit at
replay
the
it,
piano
switch
for
it
30
about.
seconds. That's all I ask.
Something like because there's I and I was trying to listen out because there's a lot of quiet bits in it, a lot of
Yeah,
silent
yeah.
scenes where there's just no music. I was like, give me a score, and I would have went a long way.
Yeah, what if I became the Topher Grace of Madam Web and I just re-edited this and took the Rami like the bad black suit motif from 3,
Yeah,
that basically could have worked
hell, like
under
that.
Tahar
Ha-
Rahim's
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And that would have been great. That's fan service that would no one would know except absolute fucking nerds like us. That'd have been great. It would have went a long way. It would have made it more menacing. Everything. Yeah, a couple of motifs, a couple of themes.
Yeah,
All I need.
yeah.
What about yourself?
Um, I have 3 words for you. Writer Dakota Johnson. Let her have more input on the script. She probably won't want to do it, but that'll be great. She'll just be coming up with stuff to get out of the room as quickly as
Yeah,
possible. Just to have I don't know, maybe you lean into maybe you have her turn into Dakota Johnson. Like the issue is she gets less Dakota Johnson once she becomes Madam Web because she's all smug and like, well, you're gonna die and you're gonna sneeze, so haha. Whereas I would have her be like, she starts off smiley and happy, and
yeah,
then once she
yeah.
gets the gift of foresight, it just causes her to become ironic and detached from everything. It's like,
Which
oh, it
is
doesn't matter.
which
Whatever.
she is the What's she like in the animated? Is she all detached and cold and weird and that?
No, she's a bit more like she's just a bit like more wise and like sagely. Like I said, like Helen Mirren is probably your comic accurate. She's just like
I watched
she's like, yeah, kind of
that.
speaks in riddles, and Peter's like,
Yeah.
just give me the answers, and she's like, well, you'll see when you endure these trials three. And it's like, but what does it mean? I need,
Yeah, I'd watch that, by the way.
yeah, okay.
I'd absolutely watch Helen Mirren
Maybe
as
that's the other
Madame Web.
fix is we just get Helen Mirren in, and yeah, I rewrite this film. Okay, so that concludes all that we have to say for this half of the podcast. Join us after the break, and we will be discussing all of the other winners and nominees.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to the middle section of the podcast. This is the correspondence section, and we have a message from Declan Boyd, who replied to us on Instagram with his thoughts on this year's ceremony, saying, I think Madam Web should be ignored as hard as Dakota Johnson pretending it doesn't exist.
Amen.
Yeah. Which, thank you, Declan, because this is a great segue into the fact that I completely messed up and skipped over some things which we should cover about this movie and its reputation. As much as we're shouting Dakota Johnson out, her on the promo circuit is even funnier given the zingers she's dropped. So she was asked how playing Madam Web compared to playing other roles in her career, and she replied, "It was the same as 50 Shades, only with more clothes on." Which I think is a great testament to how seriously she takes these.
Yeah.
And then there was the one you sent me, which is amazing. Her first Marvel film, although she admitted in interviews that she had only seen a quarter of one of the Marvel movies. When asked to name the past three Spider-Man films, she named them as Spider-Man, Here He Comes, Spider-Man, and He's Back, and The Goblet of Spider-Man.
I do wonder what the quarter film she watched was, though. I'd like to know that one.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm gonna say it's the Avengers or something, but
I
who
don't. I
knows?
think it's something random, like Iron Man 3.
Fucking Howard the Duck.
Yeah. That would be amazing if it was just like one of the Nolan Batman or something. So, Chris Martin, write in and let us know what quarter of a Marvel movie you made Dakota Johnson watch. Oh, yeah, because there's a Gwyneth Paltrow connection. He's probably like, no,
Yeah.
no
No, no,
Iron
no, no.
Man not
Turn it
allowed
off.
in the
The
house.
first 15 minutes and then Gwyneth appears to turn it off, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Other piece of trivia about the film, with that needle drop of Dreams by the Cranberries, that's of course used in what's Chunking Express? And apparently, S.J. Clarkson cited the films of Wong Kar-wai, particularly In the Mood for Love and 2046, as influence on this film's style, which is just hilarious.
That is funny.
But we might give the final word to Sydney Sweeney, who's been shouted out a lot for her like acumen as a producer and her like business savviness. She said, to me, that film was a building block. It's what allowed me to build a relationship with Sony. Without doing Madam Web, I wouldn't have a relationship with the decision makers over there. Everything in my career I do just for that story, but strategic business decisions. Because I did that, I was able to sell Anyone But You. I was able to get Barbarella,
Oh, yeah.
which
I thought as well that's what got Immaculate released.
it may well be. Yeah,
And I loved Immaculate, so
yeah.
if she has to go through this to get me Immaculate, then I'm happy. I'm happy.
Her web connects them all, Kyle. You don't get Immaculate without Madam Web. So yeah. I mean, I love this film, but well, love's extreme, but I like this film. But it's good to know that everything benefited from it, which I think that's a good sign of a movie. If on the press tour, one of your actors is just completely out of it, just cannot hide their
Your
contempt for what
main
you're doing.
actor, your
Yeah, yeah,
titular character.
yeah. Is just like completely checked out, has no idea what's going on, and one of your supporting actors is like, well, yeah, this was like the necessary sacrifice that I had to make in order to get the things I'm
And
passionate about.
I also feel like Sydney's might be post like press, maybe a bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't think she would have
probably.
said that on the trail.
I
But
think, yeah.
because I didn't she say I see this is where I'm going to stick up for because I'm sure in some interviews on the press she talked about like training for it and like learning kung fu or some shit for the
Oh,
movie, and she read the comics to get prepped, and then none of it was relevant. So
I don't know. I think the fact that it came out after Anyone But You, and so she's probably like, well, you know what? I'm kind of bulletproof a little bit because like
yeah,
I've just been like the star of this. So
but
I
she
I
wasn't
think
she wasn't the selling point in the movie though. They never like
no,
she was her
I
name wasn't all over the place. They didn't retroactively add her in more or anything.
yeah, with her being savvy, I think Dakota's just like contempt, whereas Sydney Sweeney is probably like I'm not overjoyed with how it turned out, but I
Yeah.
took it very seriously and I trained and I did this, and it would be an honor to be in a good comic
Well,
book
well,
movie or
that's it.
something.
A nepo baby doesn't need to give a shit. You know, they.
Those Don Johnson checks just keep coming in. Knives Out is still streaming on Netflix, baby. It's all good. Yeah, so other piece of correspondence. We have a response from Tyler Van to our last episode, and he really enjoyed us sharing our top 10
Oh,
lists,
nice
which we
one.
did in the middle. It said, hadn't seen them all, but I'm now interested in seeing them. And he shared his own list. So just to run down a few, we have 10 Wicked, 9 Furiosa. So yeah,
Hey,
same page there. 8 Strange Darling. Did you see Strange Darling?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
I think Strange Darling's quite grimy. I think there's a bit of a Tarantino exploitation thing to
Okay.
it. I think you might. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts.
Okay, I'll give it a watch. I'll give it a watch.
7 in the Land of Saints and Sinners. This was the only one I hadn't seen, and
No,
I'd
I haven't
never
seen it.
heard of it. It's a Liam Neeson. It's a Liam Neeson Ireland film,
Oh, I see.
and
I
so
know
I
the
watched
poster.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I watched it and it was really good. So yeah,
yeah,
thanks Tyler for bringing that to our attention. Good to see Liam Neeson like a periodic reminder that he can act when he's not doing
yeah.
like non-stops or whatever. 6 Heretic, which did Heretic
It didn't
did it?
crack my list, but
Okay, yeah, yeah.
it's just I really enjoyed Heretic.
Yeah.
Didn't love
We've
it.
spoken about our
Yeah.
issues with the third act of like
Yes. I
it's
do think it falls off a cliff, but what horror film doesn't these days?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I did enjoy it. I really did enjoy it.
I think I messaged you first third. I was like, "Oh my god, like this is gonna be like one of the best films of all time." And then second, third, I was like, "You know what? It's not sustained that, but it's still pretty good." And then it didn't fully stick the landing. But when
No,
Heretics highs are very high for me.
Heretic for me is the best when Hugh Grant is channeling me and comparing the New Testament to like Empire Strikes Back and
Yeah.
laying out
I'm
all the
Jar Jar
sequels
Binks.
and Jar
Hello,
Jar and the
Misa Jar
impression.
Jar Binks.
It's got a bit for everyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much fun. Yeah,
Um,
good stuff.
it's something from everyone, from annoying internet atheists to fanboys of Star Wars Episode 1. The entire gamut of the human experience is covered
The
in
crossover
Heretic.
there is so heavy as well.
5, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen any Sonic the Hedgehogs.
Okay, I think they should keep on making Sonic the Hedgehogs just because if that's the only way we get to see Jim Carrey,
Yeah, it's the only thing
keep on.
he's going to work for, isn't it? He won't do anything else. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely fair play.
4, Juror number 2, which we
Yeah,
spoke about through you.
love it.
3, Deadpool and Wolverine. 2, Anora. And number 1, The Substance.
Yay.
So, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, Tyler.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, that's good to hear. Good ego validation for us because, like, I don't know, like we spoke about it with Blonde. I'm a little bit unsure when we're speaking about something that's genuinely good. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Are people going to want to listen?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No,
so
that's my entirety is Raven McCaligula and
yeah,
fucking Italian movies from the '70s all my life.
yeah.
I don't know what's good and bad. I know if I enjoy it, that's pretty much sometimes my only merit is, oh well, I had fun. Doesn't mean everyone else fucking hates it, you know. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
been a
yeah.
good
It's
see.
just nice to get good feedback on. We can speak about movies which aren't bad. Turns out we might
Yes,
be able to. We might be able to speak about things
as I
which are
mentioned, Caligula.
aren't Bo Derek movies. Yeah. Okay, and so that concludes the middle section of the podcast. Join us after the break for the final section. And welcome back to the final section of the podcast. I like this. I've missed these.
Oh, I
Um
miss the
yeah.
awards.
Okay, let's just speak about big picture. Because I tried to keep my powder dry, but now I realize that there was a hole in my pocket and a lot of my powder has kind of like fallen out. I was like, I don't feel as fired up as I did at the beginning of the record, but like the nature of these Razzie Awards. Do you wanna
Well,
speak about how we found out about them? Or?
I found out that Francis Ford won
Yeah,
when he Instagram posted, I think it was,
yeah,
about wanting to accept his award and
yeah.
talking about art and how much art has, got to be fulfilled and you've got to shoot for the stars, and even if you miss, it's okay because you know it's and that's great. That's Francis. That's what I love. And I thought when he posted that he maybe broke a little bit of protocol and was announcing something early. That's what.
Interesting.
That's
I
why I
thought
sent it to you.
I was a preemptive boomer brain where I thought as like he's just said kind of preemptively like if I win I'll accept it. Or someone said
So
like
I thought you
Mr.
got the heads up.
Coppola, you've been. He's like
Yeah.
sure I've won, great, whatever.
So I thought, yeah, he maybe got a heads up and he'd posted it and just,
Yeah,
oh shit, Francis has
yeah.
went and ruined the Mr. Razzie's in a fucking hot sweat, like, oh
Um,
no, I'm ruined.
because this was
Thursday,
Thursday.
yeah, yeah.
Oh no, this was early on Friday. I think this was like Friday lunchtime. I think yeah, this was Friday afternoon. I think with
Mhm,
the Razzies, of course, being everyone knows the day before the Oscar,
mhm,
so Saturday.
mhm. So yeah, and then you quickly fucking sent me a flurry of messages that they're out. It's
Yeah,
announced in
they
the
happened. We
ceremony.
missed them.
We missed it. So yes,
So like yeah, I don't know. How did you feel the loss of the mean gays this year?
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
it was a wet fart. It's just I was like,
yeah,
oh, I was so deflated. Because I was looking forward to it as well.
yeah,
These are.
yeah.
I thought it was gonna be quite a fun year. So yeah, deflated's the best word I could use.
Yeah, I didn't even watch the video to be entirely honest with
Oh,
you. I watched like 20 seconds and they're
yeah,
doing their like Ridley Scott like dumb is smart,
yeah,
art
no, no,
is
no, no.
whatever like
I didn't
um,
watch. I watched the opening bit and then just read the results because I'm not. It was
yeah.
9 minutes long, and you can go fuck yourself.
If
And
you
it's
if
not.
you
There's nothing there.
if you're going to destroy the hype by just unceremoniously dumping them online like 2 days before they're meant to be out, then I'm not going to watch the video because it was just like could you do it's almost just like the producers of if you're trying to just like strip your event of any kind of like significance it might have, and yeah, just dump it quietly to no fanfare,
Yeah. What
like
better way to wrap up,
yeah,
summarize what the Razzies
yeah,
are these days,
get
isn't
it buried in the news cycle
it?
by
Yeah.
posting it online at midnight on Thursday or
And
like
if it wasn't for Francis, I'm not a clue. I don't think anyone would have known about
yeah,
it. Like,
yeah,
it would have just.
hmm,
Yeah. So thanks, Francis. Thanks for
yeah,
the heads
thank
up.
you, yeah. We would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that Tom Green commented on Coppola's post.
My worlds are colliding. Come on down, boys.
Francis, cast him in
you're, you're
Megalopolis 2.
you're finally eligible. Come on down, Francis.
Okay, so getting into the awards. So we've all been waiting for. So Worst Picture, of course, went to Madam Web. The other nominations, which you won't have seen any of. So Reagan. So I should also say this is the 45th Razzie Awards.
Yes.
Because I don't know, you're so used to the Oscars, but like, welcome to the 89th Academy nominee.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, they must be, yeah, there'll be more than that. Will be 100 basically. But the Razzies, 45. 45 is a
It
good old
is.
number.
It is.
45
And
years, half a century of Razzies,
yeah,
which they'll
where's
probably
yours?
celebrate next year. It's like, well, preemptively.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And 45 is a nice number too. You could do something with it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. You could put some effort into it, boys. Come
Invite Donald Trump and have him host.
on.
He's not got anything better on. We
He's a
need to,
nominee, Now give him his
yeah,
redemption
yeah.
award. Who cares?
We need to try and get a hold of Jason Reitman so we can pitch. It's the day before the Razzies. and Mr. Razzie doesn't know what's going on. He's not seen any of the nominees. Starring Cooper Hoffman as Laurence Olivier, Nicholas Braun as Stanley Kubrick,
and and John Ford
and Rachel Sennett as Bo Derek. Yeah. Okay, so Reagan is the conservative biopic of Ronald Reagan, starring Mr. Substance, Dennis Quaid. It's really peculiar in that it tells the story through a framing narrative. So John Voight plays a Russian KGB agent who has been spying on Reagan throughout his entire life. And I recommend this movie to Isaiah because I was like, this is the most you film ever made, because the Americana vibes are off the scale of like it ends with Ronald Reagan in like a Canadian tuxedo chopping wood to Sweet Child of Mine. And it's just like, yeah, my brain may be melting, but you know.
My question: any reference to his Hollywood career? Any Bobo? Any monkeys?
No, Johnny Drama from Entourage plays Jack Warner, and they like John Voight does kind of narrate like the big shot actor did this, but they don't really get into specificity. It shows you him meeting Nancy, but no, not really. There's no real deep cuts for you.
For the Reaganites
You
out
Doc
there.
Browns who are like Ronald Reagan the actor. Um, then we have Megalopolis. So,
So excited! I was so looking forward to watching
oh
Megalopolis.
man, that would have been a blast.
I was just, I said it to Sophie, my girlfriend, before. I was like, Joker 2 and Megalopolis. I'm so excited. There's something I'm going to talk
We
about
can't
here.
fucking lose.
The
Wait.
swinging and a
Yeah,
misses. I can't wait. It's what I love. I like the
yeah.
Postmans. I like all these films that are divided and strange and swing and a miss. I love them.
It's really just the Icarus story of Pride Comes Before a Fall. Of we were just so
Mhm.
confident. We are like, there's no way it could be anything other than these two films. It just has to be because like yeah, we've seen Morbius not win. So if Morbius can't win, then there's
Exactly.
not a hope in hell that like. But
If
Megalopolis,
Craven can't get nominated, then there's no help in hell for Madame Web, you know?
exactly, yeah. Like they're the same movie, and I'd argue that Craven's kind of worse. Because Aaron Taylor Johnson like is kind of committed. uh, but Megalopolis, what do you know about Megalopolis?
Surprisingly little. I know memes from it. I
Yeah.
know Audrey Plaza and John Voight
Excuse
memes.
me, why platinum?
Well, I know why Platinum and John Voight. I assume he's just called John Voight.
Caesar Catalina is Adam Driver, but I can't remember who John Crassus. Yeah,
Okay,
I
great
can't.
names, great names.
So
But
many good names.
it was also a film I actually was looking forward to see. You know, I am a Coppola fan. I was going to plan a double bill of The Conversation in honor of Hackman,
Yeah,
because it's one of my favorite films, and then Megalopolis, and then just see what it did to me. But Mr. Razzie crushed that dream, so
yeah.
I will watch it though. I will watch it because I want to watch it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
You love it, don't you?
it. I think it's. I watched it the first time and I was like disappointed because I expect it to be like an interesting failure, and it's probably not as interesting. But I watched it a second time and I was like, I might successfully gaslight myself into liking this film. Of
Yeah,
like, yeah, yeah. I think there's more to it, and you can't really say that about a lot of films. Of like, most of them are paper thin, whereas Megalopolis, you kind of, in the same way that you watch The Room for like the fourth time, and you realize that Denny is Tommy Wiseau's version of Plato from Rebel Without a Cause.
yeah,
There's like there's an interest in like kind of breaking down like a crazed genius, which
yeah,
Tommy Wiseau
yeah.
isn't, but Coppola probably is. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely, and that's especially because Coppola's post-millennium films are quite weird and disjointed.
I've not
I
actually
haven't seen
seen
them
any of
all.
them. Yeah.
I've seen one filmed in, I don't know, I want to say like Argentina or something.
Okay. Yeah.
I can't remember. But yeah, like he's got stuff to talk. You know, even
Yeah.
like a Dracula, we've
Yeah.
got stuff to talk about, even if they're
Yeah.
swinging and misses it for some people. I would have I'd have loved. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna watch it. I will talk about it on an episode.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to director, but like to contrast, Dakota Johnson is so checked out that she has no idea what's going on, whereas Coppola's basically just stopped short of putting his own blood into this. Of like, the man has like nothing to prove. He's making this movie just because he wants to see it get made.
Yep.
So it's interesting to contrast that passion with just no one
And
cared
that's
about
it.
Madam Web.
And this is the problem. This is a problem I have with Madam Web in the industry as a whole. Is all these great filmmakers struggling to get funded. You know,
Yeah.
Lynch famously couldn't
Mm-hmm.
get funded. I always talk about Jodorowsky, one of my favorite directors,
Yeah.
tried for 30 years to do Sons of El Topo, and no one would fund him.
Yeah.
But they would tell him how honored and inspirational he was, but they wouldn't give him the fucking money.
Exactly.
Here's a guy.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that just sold his wine empire. You know, probably got a loan from his daughters and granddaughters and nephews, and thought,
Yeah.
I'm going to work. I'm going to give everything. This is my last hurrah. Yeah,
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, Lynch is the perfect example of that, of like him not being able to get things off the ground, or like Elaine May being in like director
Yeah.
jail, all manner, like even Martin Scorsese, to be honest,
Yeah,
of
it can't.
like
That's
it.
like even Fincher and Scorsese's
Yeah,
are stuck with
it's just
Apples and
like,
Netflix, and
yeah, Scorsese does get things made, but you get the sense not with the regularity that he would like. Like if
and he's got to jump from streaming thing to stream. He gets one on Apple, then he'll get one on Netflix, but they're not
yeah.
going to consistently give him money.
No, 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 that's for
Um,
Sean Levy. That's for auteurs. Like,
yeah,
um, when it's like, yeah, these people aren't going to be around forever, and
no,
like, I know I shouldn't pull him into everything, but like, fucking people like Elon Musk, of like, yeah, Elon, you want to be like, you want people to like you want to be funny, whatever. It's like, just be like George Harrison. Just be like, oh, cool, I'll give Martin Scorsese $1 billion or
yeah,
whatever. I'll just
100%,
bankroll.
a hundred
It's so
percent.
easy to just be like, oh, I'll just be like a patron of the arts and I will
Mhm.
bankroll these geniuses who are going to die without making like half the things that they
Yeah,
should. But anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. On
but
to
no, yeah, yeah, continue.
from one visionary to another, Joker followed you. So, how much do you know about Joker 2?
I know most of it from you.
Okay, okay,
Um,
yeah.
I know the reality. We were going to go see it,
Yeah,
and then Sophie was quite excited for it. You know, again on paper, the trailers. It was.
yeah.
She was like, "Oh, that looks." We both enjoyed
Lady
Joker
Gaga's
one.
in
She
this.
enjoyed.
Great.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, they're making it a musical, and
It's
I was like, okay,
different,
that's
yeah.
that's different. This is going to be fun. It's going to be
Like,
probably
beep, beep, beep,
shit,
beep, beep.
but like.
Sophie, hang on. I'm hearing the Joker gets raped in Joker 2.
And I was run, in my head, I was like, well, he's ripped off Taxi Driver and
Yeah,
King
yeah,
King of Comedy. Is it New York time? I'm
yeah,
up for
yeah.
that, like, um, yeah, let's go for it. And then the minute the reviews came out, and a few pals were just like, you know what, it's not even bad good.
Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend
yeah,
it. So, just again, life's too short, and I didn't want to go see it, but I wanted to watch it for this podcast. Like, again, that's what I'm saying with Megalopolis.
yeah.
I want to watch a swing and a miss. I want to see you piss on the audience. I want to see you burn all the bridges. Um, I want to see you throw yourself into director's jail head first. But no, again. So what about yourself? You've obviously seen it.
Yeah, I saw it, and again, it's so much more interesting than Madam Web, because like Todd Phillips, I don't know his motives. I don't know if it was like him actively wanting to tell the audience to fuck off, or it was the fact that he was trapped and pulled into doing Joker 2, and is like, I have no idea of what to do other than to make a movie about the difficulties of making Joker 2. But
Yeah,
Joker,
and that's where I've
yes,
always said I relate to Todd Phillips, because that is exactly what I feel like I'd be. And he's
yeah,
done this. I'm getting Madame Web deja
yeah,
vus, The Hangover,
yeah.
getting trapped in and trying to burn your own franchise to the ground.
Exactly, yeah.
So like, yeah, I very interesting.
He had something to say in Joker 2 in a way that Madam Web does not. And indeed even Joker 1 I don't think has anything personal to
Yeah,
say,
no,
really.
I agree. I agree.
It's funny, spoilers, with the Joker getting killed, or Arthur Fleck getting killed at the end of Joker. I want him to make a Joker 3, which is Kundun. I want the Joker to be reincarnated like the Dalai Lama, and someone just going off to find like a 5-year-old incel in Tibet and be like, he's the
That's
new Joker.
Yeah, the Last Temptation of the Joker of Arthur Fleck. I'd love that. Give me them all.
Um, but and then we have Borderlands.
Which, which, if it wasn't one of the big twos,
Yeah,
I think was the next obvious pick in terms of it's meant to be really bad. I haven't seen it,
yeah,
but it's got the troubled production. It was in development hell. It's also a beloved gaming franchise that I've played a couple of them and they are fun. I love the first one. Good memories.
yeah,
Eli Roth coming in, putting a curb stomp into it. Yeah, it was like there's so much mess here that I could see why it would win. Like it's got those
yeah, yeah,
credentials, the budget getting higher and higher and higher, and then the profits getting lower and lower and lower. It felt like it was going to be. I felt like it was going to be more notorious, and Madame Web would be the obscure fadeaway one, but
yeah,
it didn't have anything to meme.
yeah,
Memes are what keep this world ticking.
yeah.
So Web stayed a bit more relevant. So yeah, and also Mr. Razzie isn't fucking watching Borderlands, is he? So
Yeah, so I've seen Borderlands. It's just like I didn't think it was. I have no attachment to the IP. It's like it's bad, but not like remarkably so. It just like I really went through the stages of like grief with this year's Razzies, where I feel like we've been robbed. Where I'm like, well, we never get to do Joker or Megalopolis on the podcast again. So I'm like,
no.
this opportunity was cut down. Even Reagan,
Hmm.
I'd have liked to watch and talk about with you, but like
Yeah, yeah.
for Madam Web, which is so unremarkable, and Borderlands is another one where I'm like, yeah, is Borderlands bad? Undeniably, but it's bad in the way that you get a Borderlands every single year but you do
Yes,
not get a Megalopolis or a Joker
exactly,
2. They don't come along. If you'll permit me to
exactly.
get all pig, we don't get a lot of Razzie winners to really care about. Um,
No, that's very true. And I don't think, again, I don't think they should be. You throw them in worst adaptation and
yeah, for
sequels and shit.
sure.
That's what you just throw that crap in there.
And I'm happy to
You've got
see
the
it. I'm
precedent for
like,
that.
oh,
Yeah.
great, yeah, well done, Mr. Razzie. I forgot that came
Hmm.
out this year, but you're right.
Hmm.
It was so soulless and such a cash in.
That's it. The most soulless caution
Yeah,
award.
yeah.
Easy, easy.
Yeah. Interesting thing on Wikipedia is Avi Arad was a producer on Borderlands. Who Avi Arad was like the producer of like the non-MCU like Marvel movies. Like he produced like Spider-Man and Daredevil and all of those.
Well, on that very little tangent is I did look up the Madam Web producer, the main producer.
Yeah,
Isn't he does all the Transformers and a lot
yeah.
of Michael Bay's. He also executive produced The Devil Inside, which is one of the worst cinema experiences I've ever had in my life. So, but he's obviously like just a check guy. He's not
Yeah,
involved.
there's
He's just
no
yeah,
vision
yeah, yeah.
here. Yeah.
No, no. Here's 100 million. If it fails, it fails. I've got another 100 million that'll make me a billion.
Yeah, well, speaking of him being the Transformers guy, do you want to speak about Roberto Orci, or is this just like
No, no. Go ahead.
he died?
Oh shit.
Yeah, he died like a week ago.
Oh shit. I did not know. Fuck. I
Yeah.
got caught up in Hackman. No shit. I didn't know
Yeah, no,
that.
exactly. It was like it was very I think it might have been the same day as Hackman, to be honest with you.
Oh fuck.
But
How'd he die?
I don't know how he died actually, but I just saw that and immediately thought of you and I was like, Kyle's gonna feel
Oh.
guilty for his voodoo doll. He's been
Oh shit. Oh well, that's a downer.
his Wikipedia personal life section is about him getting Me Too'd and then dying from kidney disease. So,
uh, oh Archie. Well, at least Kurtzman's still kicking.
yeah,
Oh
your
well.
hopes for Star
Uh,
Trek. Star Trek franchise
shit.
is in safe hands.
Oh.
Why am I so motivated to bring up tragedies on our comedy podcast? Like, hell, do you wanna wring any humor out of the tragic loss of life and human mortality? Do you wanna
Yeah.
poke any japes at grieving families? Anyway, moving on to worst director. Okay, so we of course did our predictions for this. So 0 points thus far. As you
Yes.
went for Joker, I went for Megalopolis. We are both wrong.
Yeah.
Worst director. So for this, I went for Todd Phillips and you went for S.J. Clarkson. So we know that you were not. And we've spoken about Coppola anyway. So yeah. Nominees Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted,
Mhm,
which Unfrosted is the movie about the Pop Tart, the invention of the Pop Tart.
mhm.
And speaking about like auteurs and their vision and the passion it takes to get something like Megalopolis off the ground, Jerry Seinfeld is a soulless man whose greatest desire is to produce an advert for Pop Tarts. That is
Yeah.
his purest artistic expression, is a feature-long advert for Pop
His
Tarts.
comeback. That was his big first thing in since B movie, I guess, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
like
strange.
I was talking to Isaiah about it the other day, and he was like, "Oh, he was saying the same thing as you, like, oh, is John Hamm playing Don Draper?" And I was like, "Yes, he is." And this is the type of thing that like you could imagine as a Super Bowl commercial. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's kind of like an opposite. You know how like they'll tease like, "Hey, Matthew Broderick's back as Ferris Bueller," or like, "Hey, it's When Harry Met Sally," and people get really
Mhm,
excited
mhm.
thinking it's a sequel, and they're like, "Oh
Yep.
no, it's just a super commercial. Here's Sydney Sweeney selling mayonnaise." Jerry Seinfeld has done the opposite of that, where he has taken what should have been a Super Bowl commercial, Don Draper selling a Pop Tart, and he's made it into a feature. And you're like, this is the most sad, soulless, empty thing that a human being has ever done. And he probably should have won Worst Director, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Eli Roth for Borderlands. I think the flaws of Borderlands aren't necessarily with the direction.
No, I'm gonna even without seeing it. I know he wasn't. He came on. He
Yeah.
wasn't the first choice. The Bear Jew just came in to curb stomp it. He didn't come in
Adam
to
Sandler
fix
was
it.
the first choice to direct Borderlands, and then
So I didn't think Eli was. I didn't think he'd come in and do a good job,
yeah,
but I didn't think he'd come in and win. I still stand by my pick.
yeah, yeah. Then Todd Phillips for Joker followed you, so that was my. He's the most chaotic here. I think, like, I was torn between Coppola and Phillips, and Coppola you have to admire in a way, and Phillips I also think I kind of admire him for.
I
He
do.
basically did the Joker move of he just took a
Yeah,
pile of Warner Brothers money
yeah.
and set it alight
Fair
and was
enough.
like, I'm only burning my half.
Yeah, I've got so much. I've never liked a director so much without liking his films.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I've got
That's
so much
yeah.
respect for the man.
I'm like, if Joker 2 was only moderately enjoyable to watch, I would be like in this guy's camp forever, but it's
Yeah,
boring. So, yeah. And then we have S.J. Clarkson for Madam Web, which we have talked about. And the winner is, of course, Francis Ford Coppola for Megalopolis, which we've kind of spoken about. Like,
yeah.
there's Megalopolis has, if anything, too many things to say, but I don't think the same thing can be said about what's the deal with Pop Tarts? Is it a
Yeah.
tart or is it a pop? Oh,
So it's Seinfeld or Clarkson are the real picks here. They're
yeah,
the
the
absolute
the
winners
thinking
that should have won.
persons.
Yeah.
So the scores remain 0-0, which again, not looking great for us.
Shocking, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Worst actor, Dennis Quaid, Reagan as Ronald Reagan. I spoke about that on the preview show. I actually think he's the only thing about Reagan that works.
Yeah,
And he could be in, like, when Oliver Stone gets to make his Reagan movie, you would keep Quaid because
yeah.
he's good. Joaquin Phoenix, Joker followed you as Arthur Fleck slash Joker. I don't love the performance in Joker 1 as much as some people do, but it's the same performance again, which isn't a bad performance. Even if you are the most ardent Joker 2 hater, I don't think you swapping Joaquin out for Heath Ledger or someone else doesn't make it a better movie.
Yeah, and I can kind of agree with that. I don't dislike him. I've said this to you before. I've got a burnout of Joaquin.
Yeah, yeah,
I even someone I enjoy like Beau is Afraid. I'd like to see someone else do that. I just
yeah.
I just want to see someone else play the.
Perhaps Bobby Moynihan could play Bo.
Hell yes, he could. It'd be great.
Yeah, well, I think as I probably said to you off mic, your wish has been granted because after dropping out of the Todd Haynes movie and then Joker bombing, I think we might be getting an enforced break from Joaquin for a little
Yeah,
while
and I'm
until
okay with
PTA breaks him back out.
that.
And then we have Zach Levi for Harold and the Purple Crayon. So this movie is dreadful because Zach Levi, not dissimilar to Shazam, Shazam, he was playing a like 10-year-old boys in Zach Levi's body, and Harold in the Purple Crayon, he's playing like, I don't know, like a 3-year-old child in Zach Levi's body. It's just it's
Progress.
a bad movie. But Zach Levi actually weighed in response to his nomination for Worst Actor. Zach Levi posted on his Twitter account, "Some great actors have been nominated for Razzies. I'll take it as a front-handed compliment." Well, you're a fucking idiot, Zach, because
Yeah, you
it's
are.
not a front-handed compliment.
Yeah,
That's just a compliment.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You fucking moron. Like,
Exactly, yeah.
shut
No
up.
one's saying you're Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah,
Like,
no, 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 no.
yeah. The My Pillow guy has also been nominated for a Razzie. um, but yeah, he could have been a worthy winner. And then we have Jack Black for Dear Santa as Satan/Santa Claus. Do you want to talk about this since this is the only one you've seen?
Yes, he's fucking awful. And again, we said, I think on the predictions, the Borderlands double whammy, and
Yeah.
we'll be talking about him next year for Minecraft. The Jack Black train is thundered to a stop. He's fucking awful. I mean, the film isn't good
Yeah.
by any stretch. I mean, it's one of the worst any Farley anything I've seen in a long time. But he's just so lazy. He's so fucking phoned in, and it's gonna get worse, like I say with Minecraft. But
Yeah.
yeah, just see someone not give a shit and just play themselves. And I get it, that's the Jack Black thing at times, whatever. But he was in King Kong,
Yeah.
he tried in King Kong. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't good, but he tried. I just, yeah, he's maybe not the worst thing with the movie, but he's fucking obnoxious.
Yeah.
I just can't be asked with him.
Well, you know who's in Dear Santa and didn't get nominated for a Razzie? Kyle Gass. So I think that's
Kyle
all you
Gass,
need to know, isn't it?
yeah, and he fucking yeah, and he throws him under the bus. It's your fault that Dear Santa wasn't a success.
Yeah, Patriots boycotted it because of your hateful words about Donald Trump. Um, yeah. And so that means that the winner is, of course, Mr. Jerry Seinfeld for Unfrosted as Bob Cabana, which,
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's deserved, but I'll maybe contain my rage in that, like, yeah, he is the worst performance on this list. um, Even worse than Harold in the Purple Crayon, I think, because Zach Levi was trying something.
Yeah.
Whereas Seinfeld he just radiates smugness.
Mhm.
It's a hateful project by a hateful man, and I
Mhm.
hate it. Um, um,
Bum, 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 bum.
yeah. What's the deal with golden raspberries? Are you golden or are you a raspberry? He's not going to accept his award. Never in a million fucking years is he going to accept that award.
Absolutely not. Unless there's a 17-year-old girl presenting it, he's not gonna fucking pick it up, is he?
And so, moving on to worst actress. Uh,
Who were our picks for that, by the way?
oh fuck! Thank you. We both said Dennis Quaid, so still
Ah,
a 0-0.
a fucking washout, isn't
Yeah.
it? Oh,
This prediction is going to be decided by one of us getting one category right. I don't know what the penalty shootout is for our draw. Anyway, moving on to worst actress. So Jennifer Lopez for Atlas as Atlas Shepard. So do you know anything about Atlas?
I had never even heard of it.
I had never heard of it, but I watched it as I think this was the only film nominated anywhere that I'd not seen. And I was like, this, like, 1 minute into Atlas, I was like, how did this not get nominated for Worst Picture? I was like, if it continues on this trajectory, then it's going to be awful. Because, like, it starts off with a news report being like, Simu Liu was the first AI to become a terrorist. He was built to help someone's daughter learn how to read good, and he instead became a terrorist. And Simu Liu, he's not in the movie that much, but in his very limited screen time, he fucking sucks. Because he kind of plays
Mm.
the AI as if he's Derek Zoolander, and he just has this gormless expression on his face as he's like reading the anarchist cookbook and going, hmm. So you start off and you're like, this movie is trying to be like Netflix streaming Blade Runner of like people are hunting down these AIs, and then it shifts and becomes basically Fallout in that we've got Jennifer Lopez in a big like mech suit, and the mech suit's like talking to her. It's a little bit Pacific Rim, I guess, but it's just Jennifer Lopez going around in like an Iron Man suit, where we just get like her filming could have been done in a day because it's mostly just inside the suit, and she just kind of like toot,
Yeah,
toot, toot, toot. And she is pretty dreadful, and this movie is
yeah.
very lucky to have escaped with only the one nomination.
It was Netflix thing though, wasn't it?
It was Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason it managed to slide under there.
That's the other thing, is it has some of the most like the cheapest establishing shots I've ever seen. And obviously like the actual body of the movie is quite expensive because you have this animated robot mech suit, but they'll be like, meanwhile in Los Angeles 2049, and it will honest to god just be like a matte painting of like Coruscant from the Star Wars prequels. I'm like, nothing's even moving here. This just looks so
Yeah.
cheap. But yeah, that's Atlas. Um, then we have Bryce Dallas Howard from Argyle as Ellie Conway. So, do you know anything about Argyle?
I know about Argyle. I know about Bryce Dallas Howard, but I've not seen it
Yeah,
because I don't want to fucking see Argyle. I'm done with my Kingsmans of the
yeah,
worlds
yeah.
and my. I'm just yeah, burnout. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but yeah, no interest. But you've seen it, so tell me
I
about
have seen
it.
it. I have seen it. So Bryce Dallas Howard plays Ellie Conway, who is a beloved espionage author. She's J.K. Rowling, if she wrote books about spies and wasn't obsessed with people's genitals. And she's like trying to write the book, the latest Argyle installment. And Bryan Cranston is essentially Blofeld, who's like pursuing her. And why are all these real life spies after an ordinary woman? And Sam Rockwell comes in and like is like, "Hey, I'll protect you, I'll help you, whatever." And within the first 10 minutes, you're like, "This is going one of two ways. She is either a spy who thinks she's a normal woman, or she's a normal woman who thinks she's a spy." Of I'm like, and the latter is infinitely more interesting. Of I'm
Hmm.
like, it's if you make a movie about a woman who like procrastinates too much, and it's like the only way I can finish my novel is if I just imagine, like, if I just delude myself into thinking that Bryan Cranston's gonna kill me if I don't finish it, because he's just shaking her down,
That's
being like,
fun.
"You need to finish the next chapter, Ellie. We need to know where the rabbit's foot is." And she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?" And I'm like, if she actually had this knowledge, you would like have Mads Mikkelsen hit her in the crotch with a rope. You wouldn't be like, "Please finish your book."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I'm picturing misery.
one
That's why
hundred
I
percent,
like
yeah,
that, you
yeah,
know. Also, Argyle looks how I imagine the James Bond Amazon
yeah,
films are gonna go.
yeah, 100%.
That's another reason I did not want to watch it.
Well, yeah, I do like these James Bond tours in London, and like people are always like, "Oh, who do you think is going to be like next James Bond?" And my answer is always like, "Well, I don't know. I hope I don't know because the Broccoli's are really good at like not
Yeah, yeah,
taking
you
the
should know.
obvious."
Yep.
And now I'm like, with Amazon pulling the strings, it's going to be the most obvious focus group. It'll be Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
Henry
yeah,
Cavill's
yeah.
Bond, which
And
is
that's
what he's
that's
playing
it.
in Argyle. Um,
Anyway, enough of my heartbreak. Let's move swiftly on, please.
Lady Gaga, Joker followed you as Harley Lee Quinzel. I don't think she's big enough to be lead here.
Yeah, entirely cut, wasn't she? Like,
Yeah, yeah. We've lip read them at Venice, and we've seen that she said, "I've been cut." um,
I thought it was this is shit.
yeah, well, that's the thing is Joaquin's meant to have
Yeah,
said this is bad, and she's like,
yeah,
"No, no, it's not, it's not," and he's like, "I hate it," and she's like,
yeah,
um, but yeah, not really anything to say.
yeah.
Blanchett, Kate, you're a genius. Borderlands, we have Kate Blanchett as Lilith, apparently. Um, Not really much to say. It's like Kate Blanchett, so she can only be so bad. It's more just like she's got this because it's like the error of judgment of like, why are you wasting your time on this?
Yeah. And you know what? Like, and part of me is like, maybe she's like, oh, it'll be fun.
Yeah,
Maybe she watched Mad Max and she's like, that looks like
yeah,
this sounds like fun. Like, you know, I want to go out and do something different.
yeah,
Get the kids, pay them through uni or something.
yeah, yeah.
Like, I kind of get it, but like, Doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, winner Dakota Johnson, Madam Web, as Cassandra Webb. I forgot Webb was their actual surname. How could I forget that? Okay, and so we had both predicted Dakota Johnson, so we've opened the scoring, but
Oh, we
still
have.
level 1-1. Now, moving on to Worst Supporting Actor. So we have Tahar Rahim for Madam Web as Ezekiel Sims,
Mhm.
which we've spoken about. Then
Yep,
we have Sheila Booth for Megalopolis as
yep.
Claudio Pulcher in drag. So Sheila Booth, believe me, no one loves punching down on Sheila Booth more than me, but I think he's actually one of the best performers in Megalopolis.
Fair.
Yeah, so moving on. Kevin Hart, Borderlands as Roland Greaves. So that is like interesting in that like it's just like it's such a lazy thing where like basically I think he's introduced in like someone's in a holding cell and the door opens and Kevin Hart's there and they're like, oh, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper or whatever, and
Mhm.
like they make tons of jokes about his height, and I was like, we haven't seen, like, there's been no wide shot of him, we don't know how tall he is. I was like, that just, it just tells you how lazy the film is, that they're like,
Yeah,
well, the audience knows Kevin Hart is short, so we don't actually need to convey that visually. They'll
yeah.
just laugh because every Kevin Hart movie has a joke about how he's short, and I wanted him to have a joke about how if his son was gay, he would murder him or whatever, cost him hosting the Oscars. But yeah, he's. I don't really like Kevin Hart at the best of
No,
times,
no,
really.
not a fan.
Then Jack Black for Borderlands as Claptrap, voice only. Okay, I actually really like Jack Black. I thought he was fun. I thought he was my highlight of Borderlands.
Fair, fair.
Just this
When
little.
it's just his voice,
Yeah,
maybe I
yeah,
get it. I still could listen to Tenacious D, and
yeah,
as long as I don't have to see him,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I get it.
And then of course the winner, John Voight for Megalopolis, Reagan, Shadowland, and Strangers as Hamilton Crassus III, Victor Petrovich, Robert Wainwright, and Richard Evans. So which one do you think was his Megalopolis character?
I was going to say they progressively get more normal there, which I quite like.
Yeah, so I have only seen two out of these three, and Megalopolis, once again, I think Mr. Razzie has shown his ass here because Shia and John Voight, along with Aubrey Plaza, are the three best performances in Megalopolis. I didn't think John Voight had any good performances left in him, but playing like half senile like businessman, he's good.
Role he was born to play.
Yeah. Reagan, he's really bad, but he's just also miscast. And there's like a bunch of funny de-aging. But yeah, John Voight will forever, like on the basis of baby geniuses, you can just nominate like John Voight every year and I won't fight you on it. I'll be like, yeah, great, he
Mhm.
deserves it. Fuck him. That was bad movie. And I hear that his politics aren't great.
Oh.
So moving on to worst supporting actress.
What's the scores? Who picked
Oh
who?
fuck, sorry. Well, you know this. We both picked Voight. It's 2-2.
I just want to hear it. I will
Yeah.
keep the score lines professional.
Yeah, thank you. Because there is going to be one which will separate
There is
us, and I don't want to miss it. So thank you for keeping me on the straight and narrow. Worst supporting actress, FKA Twigs for The Crow as Shelley Webster. Anything to say here?
No, I didn't see it. So I picked it. I remember. I think I was like, "Oh, this is gonna go in."
Yeah,
I
that
didn't think
was a
I'd.
good shout from you.
Yeah, I was like, just because it's a name, and there's nothing more.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be good though. I don't want to see the Crow. I suffered through enough Crow sequels that I'm done.
yeah. For
Again, it's a very recurrent thing. I'm just done.
Yeah. For one of only two nominations for The Crow, I don't think she was particularly bad. She was just, it's not a great movie, and she's perfectly
Just
adequate.
fill. Yeah, it's just filling out the roles,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, filling out the numbers.
The last minute decision to put Sheila Booth in the male category, so unfortunately we need to just pluck someone out of thin air.
Yeah.
Emma Roberts, Madam Web as Mary Parker, which we've discussed.
Hmm.
Len Leanne Down, Reagan as Margaret Thatcher. So covered this on the preview show. Yeah, she's probably maybe the winner in that she only has 20 seconds of screen time. But I'm like, has this person ever heard a British person speak? Never
Yeah.
mind Margaret Thatcher. It's
And that's it.
truly,
Old Maggie's one of the easiest to impersonate. Like,
you could play Margaret Thatcher and you would do a better job.
like, but I'm also not Yankee, so like they're not gonna give a shit, are they? Especially for 20
Well,
seconds.
the funny thing is that apparently Leslie Ann Down actually is British, but you would not have guessed that from watching her.
There.
Yeah. And then we have Ariana DeBose for Argyle and Craven the Hunter as Kira and Calypso as Zeely. So Ariana DeBose, of course, famous for my beloved BAFTA rap, which I've been quoting periodically. I actually thought something that I like about Borderlands is it is the Ariana DeBose rap because she goes, Blanchett Kate, you're a genius. Jamie Lee, you're all
Okay.
of us. But yeah, Ariana DeBose in Argyle. I think she basically plays like Q in Argyle.
Okay.
She's like a character in the Argyle novel that gets killed, and then when we learn that the Argyle novel was based on Bryce Dallas Howard's actual life, then she's like, "Oh yeah, I survived that incident in the novel because I like learned how to restart my heart after I got shot or something phenomenally stupid." And she's kind of forgettable in Craven, or maybe it was just that I fell asleep during Craven.
It's the closest Craven's come so far, though.
Yeah, but Ariana DeBose has been, since winning the Oscar for West Side Story, she has been on a truly dreadful run. So she was in Once Upon a Studio, which I don't know. Oh, that's the Disney. That she was a voice in a short film that doesn't count. She was in ISS, the movie about the International Space Station and what if they killed each other. That was
Oh
bad.
yeah.
She was in Wish, the Disney movie, which people
Oh,
hated.
Oprah one?
What?
Is that the Oprah one?
No. Are you thinking of Wrinkle in Time or whatever it's called?
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wish
and
is
everyone hated that too.
exactly, yeah. Disney not been on a great run. Wish was what if all of the IP was real?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, shit,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, then she was in Argyle. Then she was in House of Spoils, apparently, which does not look good. Blumhouse production. She plays a chef in a horror movie about chefs. Craven, and then this year she was in Love Hurts with Shorty from Temple of Doom. I haven't seen Love Hurts, but I've heard people say it's bad. So maybe next year she can take home that Razzie. And then worst supporting actress goes to Amy Schumer for Unfrosted as Marjorie Post, which we both said Thatcher. So yet again, nil
Yep.
pois. Amy Schumer is well deserved here, but it just raises the question that Jerry Seinfeld is the worst actor, Amy Schumer is the worst supporting actor. Why is this film not more like why is that not enough to get it
Yeah,
a worst picture
higher.
nomination at the very least?
Yeah.
Of like
It's only by because there's no way they watched it. Like no one, you're the only one apart from maybe fucking, so I say Larry David maybe if he out of obligation.
he's not watching
No one
that
else is.
shit.
No
Unless
one's
he's
watching this shit.
Larry will watch 30 seconds of it. So he's like, great, I can parody this in
Yeah,
Curb.
yeah.
I've got all I need to know. I'm gonna rip Jerry a new one.
It's just dunking on their. It's just because
Yeah,
of their names. Like I dislike both Seinfeld and Schumer
yeah.
probably equally, but they are names, and he doesn't know who. He's gonna be like Fakar Twigs. Who's that? I don't know. Like, just give it to Schumer.
Margaret Thatcher, who's that?
You know.
So moving on to worst screen combo. Dennis Quaid and Penelope Ann Miller as Ronnie and Nancy for Reagan. They were bad and they were also a combo.
Mhm.
So yeah, that could have been the winner. The entire cast of Megalopolis. There are I don't even think there's anyone that dreadful. The cast are just doing what's been asked of them, I think.
Yeah,
And some people manage to make that really work, and other people are but I don't no one's really that bad in
yeah.
Megalopolis. Any two unfunny comedic actors unfrosted, beyond the inherent laziness. But this is actually one time where I will stick up for Mr. Razzie, as it's entirely earned. Of just like, there's no moment in Unfrosted where it's not just like the worst thing. It's any configuration. I'm like
Yeah.
Job in Arrested Development, being like glasses on, hair up, hair down, glasses
Mhm.
off. Just running through it all, and all of it's as bad as the last. And then any two obnoxious characters, but especially Jack Black for Borderlands. I like Jack Black, but yeah, the characters are pretty obnoxious. It's trying to do that Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy thing, but they're all quite hateful or loathsome. And then the winner, Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga in Joker Folie
Mhm.
Du, which probably wasn't really deserved,
No.
but which we both called. So the
Yeah.
scores are now uh, 3
3
3.
3. Yeah.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Istanbul. That's, yeah, hell of a
It's
ride.
getting down to it now,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. Um, worst remake, ripoff, or sequel? So, just because things are getting tense now, you said Joker, and surprise, I also said Joker. So we have Rebel Moon 2, The Scargiver, which was bad.
Yeah, you can't pay me to. I'm so glad that wasn't nowhere near the worst pictures. I would have been fucking
I would
devastated if I had to watch that.
so would I. So would
And I've
I.
never seen part one, and I won't, so I'd have to just jump in at part two. Oh God.
Well, fingers crossed part 3 doesn't win. And then Mufasa, the Lion King, which is it's just sad.
Yeah.
Barry Jenkins deserves better, but like we've seen like David Lynch can't get work, the thing we were talking about earlier on. You know what? Like
Mhm.
Brady Corbet is saying that he got paid like 50 cents in a handshake to direct The Brutalist. So like if you want to get paid Barry Jenkins, that's
Yeah.
completely okay by me.
This is maybe how I'll get another Jodorowsky film, is
Yeah.
Mufasa 4,
Yeah, yeah.
The Holy Mountain.
Jodorowsky's Mufasa. Then Craven the Hunter, which is beyond beyond that one for Aaron and Bose, which is really just someone was in 2 films this year. This is the first one. Craven the Hunter is it's really boring. Madam
Mhm.
Web, I maybe checked out a little bit, but I wasn't as actively like I want this to be
I'd
over.
have had nothing to say about Craven.
Yeah,
Like I know I joked about Morbius, but like
yeah,
that is just the
yeah,
same looking fucking film to me.
yeah. It's just too earnest and not good. So really, by all rights, we probably should have been watching Craven the Hunter as
Mhm.
anything. Yeah, yeah. Then The Crow, which we've kind of said all we have to say about, not really bad in any interesting way. And then the winner, Joker, followed you. So 4-4. So we're at least kind of redeeming ourselves in the. It's not like it's a 0-0 draw. We've not completely
No, no,
got.
no, no,
We're
no, no,
doing
no.
okay, but it all comes down to the worst screenplay, which we do diverge.
Okay.
You went for Joker, and I went for Madam Web.
Fuck.
So, yeah, no tension here. uh, so the other nominees: Reagan, screenplay by Harold Klausner based on the book The Crusader, Ronald Reagan, The Fall of Communism by Paul Kengor. Interesting to make your Ronald Reagan movie about the fall of communism, but sure,
Yeah.
okay. I guess that's why a Russian guy narrates it.
Yep.
Yeah, the screenplay is fucking bad because it's a stupid way to tell a biopic because they try and condense everything that happened in his life. They just don't know what story they're telling, really. Megalopolis, screenplay by Francis Ford Coppola. I think that's actually kind of deserved because the screenplay is quite confused
Oh
and
yeah. It's the
messy.
project of being in 30 years in development and rewritten to hell as well. There's no
Yeah,
way it was going to come out clean. No
yeah,
way.
you're right. It's like he's been too much of a different person over the entire period he's been writing it, where there's too many different ideas and it's just incoherent. And he should have got Georgie Boy, his old pal Lucas, to maybe do a pass. Now that's a man who knows dialogue. I hate Megalon. It's rough and irritating and it gets everywhere. They're like here everything is soft and smooth in the club. Craven the Hunter, screenplay by Art Markham, Matt Holloway, and Richard Wenk. Story by Richard Wenk, based on characters by Marvel Comics. So we didn't get our Morbius guys, but
Yeah.
yeah, the screenplay for Craven, pretty bad, pretty bad. Joker followed you, screenplay by Scott Silver. Oh, I didn't know Silver came back. And Todd Phillips, based on characters
But
by DC Comics.
now, with clarity, I can say that, you know what, the screenplay might be great. He didn't film it.
Yeah.
He didn't stick to it, so he just cut it up and went nuts. So yeah, maybe it was a great screenplay.
Yeah, yeah. And so the winner is, of course, Madam Web, screenplay by Matt Sazma, Burke Sharpless, Claire Parker, and S.J. Clarkson. Story by Karem Sangat, Matt Sazma, and Burke Sharpless. And so, what
Your
is it?
injury time winner,
5-4.
five
Yeah, he
four,
wheels
yeah,
off.
extra time,
He wheels off into the
and
distance.
it threw me off because you've been so pro Madame fucking Web for this whole
I
episode. I
listened.
forgot you picked it.
I
You're
listened
defending it to the hilt.
when I was. This is the last one that we predicted, and we were. I was like, oh, we're picking all of the same ones. And then when I went Madam Web, I was like, it was really just like it was a Madam Web-esque moment of prescience where I basically argued why Megalopolis should win, and then at the last minute I was like, but I'm going Madam Web.
Because you know what, you do think Madame Web's going to pick up something. You
Yeah,
know, it's going to
yeah,
not just be Dakota. It's got to pick up some other minor or blah blah blah. If it's not going to be sequel, it'll be this. You know, like I do get it.
yeah, yeah. But wait, what's this? We have one final award here. It's the Razzie Redeemer Award.
Ah fuck. Ah fuck. Yeah.
So we both went for Demi Moore, I think,
Yep.
or like yeah, we spoke about her in the preview show, but because they didn't give us the nominees, Demi Moore was indeed nominated for The Substance, as was Megan Fox in Subservience, which is fascinating because I called her as a nominee for like the Bad Award, because I thought Mr. Razzie just like hated her so much that she's like in Stallone territory of if she does anything,
Yeah.
she's nominated. But maybe we're in alignment here because I actually think Subservience is one of her better roles, not because of her
Fair.
performance, but because of casting, in that she gets cast as an emotionless sex bot that's made of plastic.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of okay. She's not Redeemer
Yeah.
Award worthy,
No,
but
and of course not. I get that. It's like Jennifer's body kind of thing. If you cast her in
yeah,
something that is right, then yeah, totally.
yeah, I think she's like a great screen presence if you use her in the right way.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Redeemer Award did not go to Demi Moore for The Substance.
Did
It
not.
went to Pamela Anderson for The Last Showgirl.
Which have you seen?
I did. I have seen it. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good, because it's just come out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
And when you know what, like I've seen the trailer
Yeah.
and looks good.
Yeah.
And the only thing that kind of put me off is all the posters and trailers only talk about Pamela Anderson. I think there's 4 quotes on the poster, none about the film.
Yeah.
Just role of a lifetime, comeback of a lifetime. Pamela Anderson's fantastic. And I was like, oh, I've seen these things before. But yeah, how was it?
It's okay. It's fine. But yeah, it doesn't exist if not for Pamela Anderson because
Yeah.
it's perfectly good, but it's just like I've seen this story done before,
Uh-huh.
and like everyone, like Dave Bautista's fine. Jamie Lee Curtis has been nominated for some awards, and like I don't think she deserves it because she's not in it very much and she's not doing anything particularly new or interesting. Pamela Anderson is like the narrative behind it and like the themes of the movie about like, oh, women aging and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
superficiality of the
Yeah. If
entertainment
only there was
industry
another
and
film about
culture.
that, you know.
100%. If only there was another film with someone who had won Razzie, almost more Razzies than anyone else.
Yeah.
And the thing with Pamela Anderson is, I'm like, I never really doubt that she could do this. She's just not really been given the opportunity. Like, she's the type of person where I'm like, I've not seen a huge amount of her, but I never thought she was particularly bad. She was just like, you're just cast because of what you
No,
look
I
like, and
other than Barbed Wire,
yeah,
I struggled to name another film if off the top of my head.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause she's a TV actress to me. You know,
Oh,
it's
burn.
she is like it's not. I don't. That's why I asked you. I was like, she's not even a fucking Razzie winner. I didn't think that's where I was thrown off. I
Yeah.
was like, Because other than Barbed Wire, which she didn't even win fucking Worst Actress for,
Yeah.
I was like, well, what are you getting redeemed for?
Yeah.
A successful career?
Yeah.
Um, I, you know, a successful TV and modeling career? Like, I don't understand what what this was for. And I was fucking raging because there is a poster child, a poster queen of 90s Razzies
Yeah.
who has just went on to do one of her best performances ever, and I was furious because this is it as well, especially from striptease to the substance. I just couldn't fathom how it couldn't be. It made such narrative sense, and the standards of beauty and everything was just perfectly lined up. It was a slam dunk, but no,
Yeah.
whatever.
You're right. That's why this category has ended up being a fantastic encapsulation of this year's ceremony of you fucked Best Picture, you sabotaged yourself, you hobbled yourself by just throwing these up online at a random time, and you fumbled what should have been the easiest. Like we've both spoken about how like we get the sense that narrative drives a lot of Razzies of
Hmm.
like, oh, my Pillow isn't even a movie, but if you're wanting to condemn Trump, then this is useful. Or like Hillary's America, or just like
Hmm.
there's a lot of like reactionaryism with
Hmm.
things in response to other things. And Demi Moore is like slam dunk. It's like the equivalent of like if
It's so,
Stallone was like actually gonna win for Rocky or something, or like
yeah,
Stallone delivered an
yeah,
unreservedly great performance.
yeah. Well, he was redeemed. He run for Creed, didn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah. I couldn't remember if
Yeah,
he.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and that was perfect. It was such a great, because it died the end of his career,
yeah.
and he's the one last role. Oh yeah, perfect way to redeem yourself. The Sandman, everybody gets redeemed. Usually, it
No,
fits a
Sandman
good
lost to
narrative.
Eddie Murphy or something. Like Sandman didn't
I
win
mean,
it, but yeah,
even Murphy would be like he has the power to make you laugh again.
yeah, yeah.
There's something in there. I don't know. The world needs to laugh. Yeah, I was shocked, and this is the worst, bigger shock for me. I just couldn't believe it. I thought it was so obvious. It was insane, and
Yeah.
no offense to Anderson, I'm sure she did great. I just don't think she did better than
Any
Moore.
other year, I'd be
Yeah,
like, yeah, fair enough.
I just don't think it's such. Yeah, you're up against one of the best performances from an actress I've seen in a long time. I think Moore was fantastic, and yeah, but two Coppola films
Yeah,
this year taking home Razzies.
yeah.
Francis and his granddaughter.
Yeah, I spoke about it with my housemate the other day, and she was asking like, was Pamela Anderson good? And I was like, yeah, she was good, but not in a way that like I didn't exactly learn anything new about her. In that like I was always fairly confident she could do that if given the
Oh yeah,
chance. Whereas Demi Moore in that movie, I'm like, I had no idea she was had this in her
no,
locker. Of like she
not
has,
at all.
there's so much range in that performance, and
Hmm.
even just like if we're speaking about like the clip her in front of the mirror as her date is approaching, that is
Hmm.
like some of the best acting I've seen. As
Hmm. It is.
you're just like, oh no.
It's so good.
Yeah.
She's so good in it. Like
Yeah, yeah.
she arguably boosts the film in so many ways. That film is not the greatest thing to most people if it isn't for Moore.
Yeah. And like
I
she nails the tone perfectly of you do feel sorry for her and she's human and relatable, and yet when she's like monstrous like oh mama 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 mama
Yeah,
and just like having that breakdown, she's so good.
and narratively as well, you can tie it into Quaid getting nominated,
Yeah,
and you can,
yeah,
everything here works.
yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
that concludes this year's Razzies. I just have one final thing which I meant to bring up earlier with Madam Web. So on its Wikipedia page, as well as the Golden Raspberries, it also won a Dorian Award. So, or it didn't win a Dorian Award, rather, it was nominated. So the Dorian Awards are named after Dorian Gray, and they are general and LGBTQ themed accolades for excellence in film, television, and Broadway. And so it
yeah.
was nominated for Campiest Flick. So it doesn't say the nominees. Do you want to guess what won Campiest Flick?
And no, I don't actually. What is
The
it?
Substance, which, yeah, well deserved.
Yeah, yeah.
And the timeless star to an actor or performer whose exemplary career is marked by character, wisdom, and wit, went to Demi Moore. So you know what? Maybe we'll transition to a podcast about the Dorian Awards because they fucking know what
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's fitting as well. Again, Moore's beloved campy performance as well. You know, like Striptease is a
Yeah,
weird cult classic to people.
yeah,
I like it. I like Striptease. I didn't.
yeah,
I liked it more than you did.
yeah. You definitely
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
For every showgirls on a shoulder, there's a striptease. You know.
So that brings us to a close for another year. They're just off engraving the trophy. They're adding a second star above the Jericho badge as
Yeah,
won the
I've lost it.
This is neither of us should be proud. This is like neither of
No.
us won the predictions. I think you just lost it a little bit harder than me. But I'm not gonna prevaricate about this. There's no confusion about like, oh, what's the forfeit gonna be? Like, oh, what should we watch? I'm just getting out there. We're watching Boat Trip. So
Yeah.
we've spoken about it enough. We've lost
It's
its
time.
pat. It's time to cover one of our other great white whales.
And
So
it's what we've been saying. I think it's like Tyler said, enjoying we've got to get into the 10 worst things. Now it's our time to
ooh.
turn the tables. We're gonna have to start crawling through some of these worst things we've ever watched.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But
it's time.
like Jericho giveth, Jericho taketh away. This is one of the worst films I've ever seen, but also it has Roger Moore in it. So I'm throwing you
Yeah,
a little
no.
Bond bone there.
And I'm sure it's 93 minutes
Yeah,
long, so I can't
exactly.
wait.
Fantastic. Yeah, perfect.
Bish bosh bosh.
So join us at some point. All you Madam Web clairvoyants will be able to tell, but in reality, me and Kyle have no idea when we're going to see each other and record this. But at some point, we'll return to you with Boat Trip. In the meantime, you can email us at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com, and you can follow
Absolutely.
us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and X, the Everything app. You can live the meme. You know how there's living the dream. You can
Yeah.
live the meme on X, the Everything app, where we are watching worst. So get in touch with us there with any feedback, any rants you have against the Razzies. If you think they nailed it, then we'd love to
Yeah, yeah.
hear a different opinion, and that's where we can be reached. Also, if any of you have seen Boat Trip, then give us a shout.
Excellent.
And yeah,
Until next time.
and when we ask those questions, when there's a dialogue about them, that basically is a utopia. See you next time.